Engaged in a virtual contest, a formidable individual bearing the summoner ID, Jiang Yabenya, confidently grasped his gleaming sword, poised and prepared for impending combat. In pursuit of adversaries within the digital realm, he instructed them to yield, underscoring his advantage as the sole encircler. However, his opponents, instead of capitulating, hastily fled for their lives. In a bid to swiftly conclude the gaming bout, he skillfully employed the five-blood unbreakable technique, unleashing its potency to dispatch all opposition. Despite emerging victorious, a sense of discontent enveloped him, as the lack of a substantial challenge left him with an overwhelming feeling of solitude while sitting in his chair in his room in front of his gaming computer. Post-triumph, he queried his audience, seeking validation for the spectacle he had orchestrated within the game. He wanted them to tell him how they felt about the show. Observing a surge in viewership on his laptop, he was pleasantly surprised, as the unexpected influx of 37 viewers sparked a sense of elation within him, because he had never that much viewers before. Capitalizing on this unforeseen opportunity, he made a solemn declaration asserting his innocence, vowing never to resort to hacking, invoking the relics of his grandfather for added emphasis. Contrary to his expectations, the viewer count plummeted to 0 after his proclamation. Faced with this setback, he opted to relinquish the endeavor, recognizing the futility of convincing anyone of his integrity. Adding to his woes, his shop languished without customers throughout the morning, and his savings dwindled incrementally with each passing day. Casting his gaze upon a portrait downstairs, portraying him as the champion of the University Gaming League, he reflected on his past achievements. He used to be very happy and had much fame. While viewing his portrait, there was no trace of joy on his face. Contemplating past events, he couldn't help but ponder the irony that, had he not been framed previously, his current circumstances might have been vastly different. Maybe he could still be popular and wealthy, but things air completely different now. Originally recruited as a gaming virtuoso at Shiwuki University, he garnered numerous accolades, basking in the limelight of success. People were envious of his skills, but he didn't know that it would get out of hand so as to tarnish his image. However, a nefarious setup altered the trajectory of his life irreversibly after a triumphant victory. As a popular gamer, his victory can be heard of, but not everyone was happy with him. Because he was set it up. Suspecting jealousy as the motive, he believed that an individual, motivated by ill intent, had been remunerated to besmirch his once impeccable reputation. Accused of cheating, an official investigation implicated him for having an external program on his computer, a claim vehemently denied as foreign to his actions, which had been inserted by someone else during the game. Exiled from the gaming community, he became the subject of mockery and scorn, enduring ridicule and derision, forcing him to withdraw. No matter how he tried to convince people that he didn't do it, no one would believe him. Concurrent with these tumultuous events, the passing of his grandfather compelled him to reunite with his grandmother, prompting a voluntary hiatus from academia to return to his small hometown. Inheriting the ancestral shop left by his grandparents, he retreated from the complexities of right and wrong, seeking solace in the familiar surroundings of his upbringing. Consequently, he found himself distanced from the erstwhile realms of fame and affluence that had defined his earlier life. Lost in introspection, his musings were abruptly interrupted when an unidentified individual forcefully struck their hand upon the table in his shop. Turning on his heel, he pivoted around and inquired of the unsuspecting person if they harbored any inclinations towards acquiring wares. However, his attention was abruptly diverted when he discerned an individual who, with a rather forceful motion, had vehemently struck his hand against the unforgiving surface of the table. The inquisitive individual, sensing a lapse in the shopkeeper's memory, ventured to question whether there was an oversight, emphasizing that the purpose of the visitation was not centered around engaging in any commercial transactions. Jiang Ya found himself ensnared in a web of confusion, prompting him to seek elucidation regarding the commitment he purportedly made. Subsequently, the collective demand emerged that he discharge the obligation he allegedly undertook, the remittance of protection money, a pledge he was now obligated to fulfill. As the peculiar spectacle unfolded before their eyes, an air of dissatisfaction permeated the atmosphere, compelling the trio to pose an inquiry that questioned his sincerity. Did he harbor intentions of reneging on his word? In the labyrinth of his own thoughts, Zhang Yai found himself absent-mindedly scratching his chin in a perplexed manner. Slowly, the fog of recollection lifted, revealing that these three individuals had crossed paths with him in the realm of the digital, an internet cafe, beseeching him for something. Unfortunately, ensnared in the captivating clutches of a game, he had impulsively assented. Taking stock of his reactions, the trio, insinuating a potential escape, interrogated him about his willingness to flee. Unveiling the fruits of their investigative efforts, they disclosed his identity, Zhang Yai. The ominous warning reverberated in the air. Should the protection fee remain unpaid, the consequence would be dire. Infused with a surge of anger, Zhang Yai vehemently demanded clarification, his countenance etched with an expression of ire. The accusatory fingers of the trio pointed towards the wall adorned with portraits, the visages of his departed grandparents. Revelations ensued. They were no more, and the trio claimed a pre-existing acquaintance with the deceased couple. Mockery danced on their faces as they revealed the shop's provenance, once belonging to the now-deceased elderly duo. In a state of disbelief, Zhang Yai grappled with the sudden revelation, his teeth gritted in a manifestation of his internal turmoil. Fueled by an incendiary blend of emotions, he impulsively vaulted over the table from the opposite end, a manifestation of his anger now materialized within the confines of the shop. Grasping the collar of one of the trio, he confronted them with an angry query, challenging them to test his mettle. In response, the derisive label of a weak geek was hurled in his direction. The forceful impact of a kick to Zhang Yai's chest left him writhing in agony, the physical pain now commingling with the tumultuous emotions that surged within. The necklace adorning his neck, a symbol of some sentimental significance, succumbed to the aggression of the kick, its tethers severed as it tumbled to the ground. The triumvirate, now unified in their malevolent intentions, surrounded him with taunts and laughter. The collision of his back with a case housing an array of goods for sale, adding a cacophony of commotion to the tense atmosphere. Reminiscing about a past encounter with an elderly man who had obstinately refused to remit payment, the trio reveled in the recollection, finding satisfaction in the dispensation of a lesson. The vivid recollection of his grandparents' smiling countenances, portrayed on the wall in the form of portraits, intensified the cauldron of anger within Zhang Yai, who had never anticipated such an egregious affront. The trio's intentions took an unexpected turn, executing a swift about-face in their approach. Instead of persisting in their quest for monetary compensation, they abruptly abandoned this pursuit. In an unforeseen twist, they now declared a different purpose: to seize his possessions. This drastic shift stemmed from their perception of delayed resolution to their demands. In the midst of this altered dynamic, a revelation occurred like a sudden and unexpected bloom. One of the men, possessing a discerning gaze, noticed an object lying on the floor. This discovery prompted an immediate redirection of his attention, compelling him to pivot and fixate on the mysterious item that had captured his interest. With deliberate care, he retrieved the fallen necklace, an artifact resembling a coin, its aesthetics accentuated by a rope tethering it. Speculating on its potential antiquity, he queried whether it held monetary value. Witnessing this unfolding drama, Zhang Yai promptly elevated himself from his seated position, spurred into action by the mere sight of the necklace held by the inquisitive man. Amidst the escalating tension, Zhang Yai vociferously shouted at the individuals who had absconded with his precious possession, passionately and unequivocally demanding its return. He fervently communicated to them that the necklace was an integral part of his personal belongings, emphasizing that it unequivocally belonged to him. In a resolute endeavor to reclaim his pilfered necklace, he took decisive action by laying hands on a formidable statue within the confines of his shop, intending to deploy it as both a symbolic and practical instrument of resistance in the imminent confrontation. The ensuing altercation unfolded as he wielded the statue, delivering a decisive blow to one of his adversary's craniums, causing the necklace to inadvertently slip from his assailant's clutches. Displaying swift reflexes, Zhang Yai stretched out his hand with alacrity, successfully intercepting the trajectory of the descending necklace just moments before it could make a calamitous impact with the ground below, securely ensconcing it within the shelter of his outstretched palm. The unfolding tableau witnessed the concerned reactions of onlookers as they rushed towards their boss, who bore the physical brunt of the altercation, beseeching him with inquiries regarding his well-being. Meanwhile, Zhang Yai remained stoically present, the crimson stream of blood emanating from a wound on his forehead starkly contrasting against his intent gaze, fixated on the recovered necklace. In the aftermath of the altercation, the boss, nursing his injuries and nursing a grievance, castigated Jiang Yai with a vitriolic label and instructed his cohorts to mete out a retaliatory beating. Despite the visible wounds, the boss continued to articulate his directive, the pain etched across his features accentuating his resolve. Reacting to the boss's command, one of the principal enforcers retrieved a knife, assuming a threatening posture, and advanced menacingly towards Jiang Yai, signaling the commencement of a new phase in the confrontation. The ensuing skirmish witnessed the concerted efforts of the assailants as they subjected Jiang Yai to an unrelenting barrage of blows, devoid of any semblance of mercy. Positioned defenselessly amidst their onslaught, Jiang Yai stoically bore the physical toll of the orchestrated assault. Succumbing to the overwhelming pain, Jiang Yai found himself compelled to kneel on one knee. However, in a defiant display of resilience, he vocalized a poignant declaration, asserting that, despite his physical tribulations, he stood unwavering as a bastion of honor for his Kang family, all the while maintaining an unwavering grip on the reclaimed necklace. The narrative took an unexpected turn when a sudden droplet of Jiang Yai's own blood descended onto the surface of the tightly clasped necklace, triggering a celestial radiance that emanated from its core. As if caught in a surreal reverie, Jiang Yai found himself entranced by the luminous spectacle unfolding before him, torn between awe and confusion as the coin necklace exuded an ethereal brilliance, casting an otherworldly glow in its immediate vicinity. Overwhelmed by the intensity of the luminosity, Jiang Yai opted to shield his eyes by closing them. Yet he retained possession of the radiant necklace cradled within his palm, becoming the unwitting epicenter of a phenomenon that defied comprehension. The abrupt cessation of the physical assault by the trio was prompted by their collective astonishment at the inexplicable million-dare spectacle unfolding before them. Gazing at Jiang Yai, bathed in the radiant glow emanating from the coin necklace, they found themselves grappling with profound questions regarding the source and nature of the luminous phenomenon. The transformative power of the necklace became even more pronounced as it continued to shine with a resplendent brilliance, extending its luminous tendrils skyward and assuming enigmatic forms that left the onlookers paralyzed in a state of incredulity and disbelief. In a moment of revelation, Jiang Yai, grasping the radiant necklace with unwavering determination, realized that the course of his destiny had irrevocably shifted, declaring himself the lord of the world, thereby cementing his newfound invincibility and deterring anyone from daring to inflict harm upon him in the future. Against the backdrop of broad daylight, the radiant illumination persisted, casting an ethereal glow that rendered the trio of assailants motionless, their faces etched with a combination of awe, trepidation, and bewilderment. Attempting to assuage the trepidation gripping his companions, one of the men endeavored to offer a semblance of reassurance, suggesting that the luminous display could be nothing more than a benign firecracker. Meanwhile, others continued to voice their perplexity, raising questions regarding the true nature of the mesmerizing radiance enveloping Jiang Yai. In a sudden and unforeseen metamorphosis, the once bright light transmuted into a trace of dark energy, imbuing the atmosphere with a distinct shade of ominous purple, signaling a profound shift in the metaphysical forces at play. Seated amidst this transformative energy, Jiang Yai became a spectral figure, bathed in the mesmerizing glow of purple radiance, gripping the coin necklace with an unwavering resolve, his eyes closed in profound contemplation. The men, now confronted with an unforeseen manifestation of supernatural power, stood paralyzed with expressions reflecting shock, fear, and disbelief, their expectations shattered by an unexpected turn of events that defied their collective understanding. Abruptly, Jiang Yai's eyes flung open, unleashing an intense, radiant cascade of golden light that immediately instilled fear in those who bore witness to this otherworldly phenomenon. In response to the inexplicable brilliance, the onlookers hastily retreated, dubbing Jiang Yai a ghost, while he descended gradually from the ethereal display above. Seated within the lingering purple streak of light, Jiang Yai, wearing an expression of bewilderment, queried the fleeing individuals about the cause of their sudden panic, questioning the rationale behind their precipitous retreat. Examining his own form, he made a startling observation, noting that his body appeared to be engulfed in a luminous conflagration, an inexplicable occurrence that added to the enigma of the situation. Fixing his gaze upon the copper coin necklace adorning his neck, a realization dawned on Jiang Yai. He remembered that it was the copper coin emitting the mesmerizing glow. As he clutched the copper coin necklace, its brilliance persisted, casting an otherworldly radiance that seemed to defy the laws of the mundane world. Intriguingly, it appeared as if a trace of words, mirroring the color of the copper coin's radiant light, materialized directly in Jiang Yai's eyes. The words, vividly hued, seemingly carved themselves into the fabric of the purple sky, creating an opening through which the words shone with resplendent vibrancy. An unseen force gripped Jiang Yai, drawing him upward into the luminous opening generated by the copper coin, an ethereal gateway to realms unknown. In an instant, he vanished from the familiar confines of the modern world, leaving behind bewildered onlookers pondering the extraordinary occurrence. Meanwhile, the copper coin rolled gracefully through the air, its enigmatic behavior captivating the attention of those below who speculated on its significance. Pointing fingers followed the airborne descent of the coin, giving rise to speculation that it might be associated with the fabled territory of the Black Wind Demon. Rumors circulated among the crowd, suggesting that the gates to the sinful world, dormant for millennia, might have reopened. Skeptics pondered the possibility of escape for those serving sentences, yet uncompleted. With a thunderous impact, Jiang Yai collided with the ground, the force of his descent leaving a discernible crack in the surface beneath him. Rising from the floor, he wore an expression of confusion and speechlessness, his body drenched in sweat, grappling with the surreal events that had unfolded that day. A perplexed Jiang Ye ran his hands over his form, confirming his continued existence and pondering the perplexities of the inexplicable occurrences that had befallen him. Suddenly enveloped in a shadow, he turned toward it, his expression a mixture of curiosity and confusion, unsure of what new enigma awaited him. Before him stood two peculiar-looking individuals adorned in traditional attire, prompting Jiang Yai to question their presence and inquire whether they were engaged in a cosplay endeavor. Unperturbed by his question, one of the men probed Jiang Yai about the external situation, questioning the abundance of aura, but he redirected the conversation, dismissing their queries and pondering the nature of their peculiar appearance. Assessing Jiang Yai's essence, the blonde-haired man discerned a trace of malevolent energy, deeming it advantageous for their unknown purposes. Seizing the opportunity, his partner suggested a sinister course of action, eliminating Jiang Yai to harvest both his aura and demonic energy. As the sinister duo contemplated ganging up on Jiang Yai, an abrupt cessation in their nefarious plans occurred when their attention was drawn to the arrival of an unexpected swordsman. Jiang Yai, grappling with confusion, pondered the significance of these developments. Eavesdropping on their ominous conversation, Jiang Yai struggled to process the surreal details. They spoke of extracting his aura and the ability to manipulate flying individuals, prompting him to question the reality of his circumstances, wondering if he had unwittingly stumbled into the realms of a fantastical dream. Faced with the ominous threat posed by these mysterious beings, Jiang Yai contemplated slipping away, hoping to elude their clutches. However, his hopes were swiftly dashed as they ominously declared that there was no escape. Their eyes glowed with an ominous dark blue light, and an unmistakably malevolent expression adorned their faces. Speculating that the radiant light had somehow altered the swordsman into madness, they harbored trepidation about his unpredictable actions. Their shared conclusions set the stage for impending conflict. In an ominous transformation, the duo assumed their beastly forms, aligning their powers to assail Jiang Yai in unison, raising the stakes of the confrontation. Initiating a synchronized attack, the beasts leaped towards Jiang Yai, vociferously proclaiming their intent to dispatch him without delay. Amidst the chaos, Jiang Yai, still bewildered, sought to evade the onslaught of attacks from the monstrous adversaries, questioning the rationale behind this sudden, violent encounter. Despite his best efforts to dodge, Jiang Yai found himself subjected to painful blows, causing him to wince in agony as the relentless assault continued. Realizing the tangible threat posed by the transformed beasts, Jiang Yai, no longer under the illusion of a dream, sprinted away in a desperate bid for survival. Exhausted and distressed, he sought momentary respite, collapsing to rest briefly upon realizing that he had managed to put some distance between himself and his relentless pursuers. In an unexpected twist, a golden streak of light emanated from Jiang Yai's forehead, casting a celestial glow in the midst of his reprieve. The two assailants, witnessing this celestial phenomenon, debated the distribution of their impending assault, with the bear-like beast instructing his partner to take the lead and save some of the impending violence for him. However, the golden lights emitted an overwhelming force, ascending from where Jiang Yai lay, defying their expectations and escalating the mystical nature of the confrontation. In the sinful world, a perceptive young girl discerned the luminous words forming in the sky, recognizing them as an emblem of the Kang family's lineage. Swiftly snapping her fingers, she vanished from her initial position, leaving behind an ominous declaration that she would not allow them to escape the consequences of their actions. As the mysterious girl departed, her ominous words lingered, adding an air of inevitability to the unfolding events. The bear-like beast, realizing an absence of aura, cultivation, and spiritual presence in Jiang Yai, tightened his grip, bewildered by the inexplicable state of his captive. Suddenly, and to the astonishment of the beast, Jiang Yai disappeared from his grasp, leaving the beast confounded and questioning the reality of the situation. Confusion gripped the bear as he questioned the sudden disappearance, his hands now empty where Jiang Yai was held moments ago. Suspecting that his partner had somehow swallowed Jiang Yai, the beast accused him of being a demon bear and demanded the release of any spatial treasure obtained from the vanished swordsman. Angrily threatening the bear's family, the partner insisted on the treasure's surrender, emphasizing their lack of sustenance from absorbing aura for a millennium. The looming dread intensified as the madman swordsman entered the scene, instilling fear in the once confident duo, who now grappled with the realization that their actions might have summoned a force beyond their control. He walked into the room, a sinister grin playing on his lips, wielding his sword with a malevolent gleam. A radiant, light purple aura enveloped him, adding an eerie touch to his menacing presence. The moment he arrived, he declared a keen sense of a fresh aura in the air. He pointed towards the creatures that had undergone a transformation earlier, signaling his detection of an unusual energy. With a nostalgic tone, he remarked that it had been a considerable while since he had encountered such a pure and fresh aura. To him, it presented a splendid opportunity for a ceremonial sword sacrifice. The bear, perplexed, inquired about the nature of the so-called fresh aura. It questioned the man's peculiar fascination with the scent that had caught his attention. The eccentric individual pressed the bear about the whereabouts of the fresh aura. In response, the bear implored for mercy, asserting that Jiang Yai was feeble and undeserving of the man's lethal blade. Jiang Yai, discovering he was miraculously alive, felt a wave of confusion washing over him. Puzzled, he questioned why he had used the word again, scratching his head in bewilderment. Observing Jiang Yai seated and unharmed, the bear expressed confusion, prompting him to inquire about the inexplicable survival. Jiang Yai, believing the madman's sword had spared him, found solace in his unexpected survival. The bear, gazing at Jiang Yai, remarked that he appeared like a seasoned master from middle age. Grateful for his life being spared, Jiang Yai's gratitude shifted as the madman's sword initiated an attack called the sword thrust. Jiang Yai, stabbed in the chest, was stunned to find no blood emerging from the wound. Simultaneously, the madman's sword mirrored his confusion, unable to comprehend the absence of blood. Accepting the bear's earlier assessment of his weakness, Jiang Yai acknowledged the absence of blood as a confirmation of his vulnerability. The bear, sensing an anomaly, suggested something was amiss and detected a potent force emanating from within Jiang Yai. Turning to face an unexpected presence behind him, the bear found himself taken aback by the revelation. The reappearance of the individual brought joy, and he informed Jiang Yai of their meeting again. He inquired whether Jiang Yai was practicing immortal magic or the art of substitution, leaving Jiang Yai bewildered and clueless. The madman praised Jiang Yai, stating he was worthy of sword cultivation, preparing for another attack. Leaping into the air, the madman relentlessly slashed Jiang Yai with his sword, yet each strike brought Jiang Yai back to life repeatedly. In desperation, Jiang Yai pleaded with the madman, expressing exhaustion from the constant cycle of death and rebirth. He questioned if the madman too was fatigued by the ceaseless battle. The madman, unable to fathom Jiang Yai's resilience, prepared for another assault, affirming Jiang Yai's worthiness of being a target. The sword descended upon Jiang Yai repeatedly, each stroke failing to end his persistent existence. Despite the relentless onslaught, Jiang Yai, in a continuous loop, revived after each lethal blow. Jiang Yai, wearied by the relentless cycle of death, called out to the madman, expressing his fatigue. He questioned whether the madman too was weary of the seemingly endless struggle. The madman, astonished by Jiang Yai's resilience, couldn't believe his inability to end his life. In frustration, he asked how many more times Jiang Yai would return from death. Turning his attention to the transformed beasts, Jiang Yai questioned their lack of assistance, considering their formidable power. They admitted their inability to aid him and tactically withdrew. With an astonishing burst of speed, the madman propelled himself into the air, ready to unleash another vicious strike upon Jiang Yai. In his relentless assault, he paid no heed to any pleas for mercy or reprieve. In the grip of excruciating pain, Jiang Yai's anguished screams echoed, marking the dire nature of his predicament. The torment he endured seemed like a form of cruel and relentless torture, leaving him yearning for any conceivable means of deliverance. Abruptly, the imminent threat of the madman's impending strike against Jiang Yai came to an unexpected halt. The tension in the air was palpable as the assailant's movement ceased, introducing a momentary reprieve from the relentless assault. The sudden interruption found its source in the form of a young girl who materialized before Jiang Yai. With a stern admonition, she cautioned against breaking any promises. In her hands, she wielded the broken tip of the madman's sword, a weapon that had been aimed menacingly at Jiang Yai only moments earlier. The madman, overcome by astonishment at the appearance of this ethereal figure, gazed in disbelief at the shattered remnants of his sword. The unexpected intervention had not only halted the imminent danger, but had also left the assailant visibly stunned and bewildered by the turn of events. Turning toward him with an air of graceful poise, she posed the inquiry, softly uttering words that hung in the air like an inviting whisper, asking him if, perchance, he would be amenable to the notion of her generously offering him a ride. In response, an immediate visceral rejection escaped his lips, driven not by mere reluctance, but by a palpable undercurrent of fear that seemed to seize his very essence. In a display of deference, he gracefully bowed, a gesture laden with an unspoken apology, conveying the urgency of his departure, an urgency that brooked no delay. The revelation hit Jiang Yai like a thunderbolt, leaving him momentarily stupefied. His mind grappled with the incredulity of encountering a seemingly deranged individual who, paradoxically, recoiled in fear. The enigma deepened as he pondered the identity of the mysterious girl, prompting him to sign in disbelief. Departing from the metaphorical tiger's den, he found himself unwittingly stepping into the metaphorical wolf's den. In an expression of admiration, she verbalized the sentiment that he was a kind soul, inquiring if there was anything within his power that he might desire. A subtle, almost imperceptible smile graced Jiang Yai's countenance as he internally acknowledged the undeniable cuteness that emanated from her. She reassured him, emphasizing that her entreaty bore no weight, and all she sought was for him to extricate himself from the labyrinth of the sinful world, a simple request that echoed with profound implications. Baffled and confounded, he admitted to his lack of comprehension, revealing a state of mental disarray induced by the complexity of the sinful world's enigma. Gently, her fingers grazed his forehead, a tender touch that served as a prelude to the revelation that the Kang family bore the mantle of wardens for the sinful world. Delving further into the depths of disclosure, she articulated that the entire cohort of demons within the sinful world were, unequivocally, under the dominion of his ancestral Kang family. Stirring the recesses of recollection, memories from his formative years resurfaced, invoking the stories of yore that his grandfather would regale him with about the enigmatic, sinful world. His grandfather's narratives unfolded, recounting tales of capricious gods. A younger Jiang Yai left puzzled by the nebulous concept of the same forward. Expounding upon the inseparable connection, his grandfather imparted the knowledge that the sinful world stood intrinsically linked with their esteemed Kang family. Further elaborating on the cosmic dichotomy, his grandfather expounded on the long-standing division between immortals and mortals. When a living entity achieved immortality, the inevitable ascension to the ancient immortal world beckoned, leaving the mundane human realm behind. Diverging from the righteous path, some immortals strayed into criminality, leading to banishment from the ancient immortal world and consignment to the punitive confines of the sinful world. The mantle of controlling the sin-laden realm, or the appointment as warden by the ancient immortal realm, perpetually fell upon the shoulders of a chosen descendant from their venerable Kang lineage. Poignantly, his grandfather conveyed the mixed blessing, honor, and weighty responsibility inherent in the role. However, the idyllic existence was disrupted by the abrupt disappearance of the ancient immortal world and the subsequent closure of the Gate of the Sin World. The secret, passed down through the generations of the Kong family, evolved from a blessing to an enduring curse. The grandfather's fervent wish emerged, a desire for his progeny to lead a tranquil life, free from the entanglements of the sinful world and its dark complexities. Piecing together the fragments of familial history, Zhang Yai's burgeoning understanding of his own identity began to take shape. The girl, patient in her millennia-long vigil, revealed her enduring anticipation for the re-emergence of the Kong family. In response, Zhang Yai acknowledged the epiphany that had dawned upon him, a realization of the significance embedded within his own lineage. A smile played upon his lips as he affirmed his identity as a scion of the esteemed Kang family, acutely aware of the weight and implications that accompanied such an illustrious lineage. Affirming the recognition, she reciprocated with a smile, signifying his freedom to release her from whatever unseen bonds had constrained her. In a surprising twist, he contradicted her expectation, expressing an unequivocal resolve to return home, rejecting the prospect of remaining in a realm where his existence would be marked by countless deaths. With a raucous laugh, he raised a coin, intending to craft a gate that would serve as his passage away from the monstrous denizens that surrounded him. Despite the outward bravado, the creation of the gate proved less straightforward than anticipated. Stuck in a perplexing limbo, he wiggled and contorted, unable to traverse the portal's threshold. Turning towards the girl with a pleading gaze, he beseeched her assistance, solemnly promising to fulfill his earlier commitment of facilitating her exit from the confounding realm. Amusement danced in her eyes as she laughed, enjoying the spectacle of his predicament. With a display of force, she extricated him from the interdimensional impasse. Ascending through the ethereal gate, his screams of fear resonated in the tumultuous transition. Her cryptic words resonated in the charged air, urging him to witness the world that awaited, the sinful world. As they soared through the unknown, his apprehension grew. The girl guided him with an inexorable force, unraveling the mysteries that lay shrouded in the fabric of the desolate, foreboding realm. Their ascent revealed a land steeped in darkness, enveloped in an oppressive aura, with traces of blood staining the landscape. It appeared uninhabited, as if life itself had long abandoned this forsaken domain. Displeasure creased his brow as he surveyed the bleak tableau, expressing discontent at the seemingly desolate gift bestowed upon him. He questioned the audacity of presenting him with a piece of wasteland. In response to his incredulity, she elucidated the absence of aura in the Sin world, a key factor rendering direct teleportation an unattainable feat. Deeply contemplating this newfound revelation, he grappled with the profound implications that dawned upon him. The absence of an aura elucidated his incapacity to teleport directly out of the sinful world, amplifying the intricacies that characterized the mysterious realm entwining him in its enigmatic embrace. She conveyed to him a disheartening truth. For ordinary individuals, the Sin world served as an inescapable labyrinth. Displeasure etched across his face upon hearing this. He questioned the possibility of breaking free from the clutches of the Sin world. Recollections of his life in the modern world, immersed in games and routine, overwhelmed him. Unable to contain his frustration, he erupted into a scream, grappling with the abrupt and irreversible nature of his circumstances. Resisting acceptance, he used his hands to disentangle hers from his shirt, symbolically rejecting the harsh reality that he might never return to his former world. In response to his evident despair, she reassured him, hinting at a potential solution. His eyes flickered with a glimmer of hope as he gazed up at her, seeking a lifeline amidst the uncertainty. Her revelation unveiled a tentative path, a formal acceptance of the role of the controller in the management of the Sin world, granting him the ability to navigate its realms without hindrance. Hesitant, he grappled with the arduous and unpleasant responsibilities that accompanied the role. Considering the idyllic existence others sought in the immortal world, he marveled at how he found himself tasked with overseeing a piece of wasteland, contending with infrastructural challenges and the bullying of demons. Scratching his chin, he pondered what decision his grandfather might have made in the face of such a choice, uncertain about his own course of action. Drawing inspiration from the memory of his grandfather, he recognized the potential for blessing, honor, and responsibility in embracing the role. Grumbling about the seemingly mundane task of managing prisoners in what felt like a colossal prison, he resignedly likened it to an upgraded version of the games he once played. With determination, he proclaimed his decision to accept the responsibility immediately, prompting the appearance of streaks of golden light before him. The ancient coin around his neck emanated a trace of light, a subtle affirmation of the transformative journey he was about to undertake. The Kang family's descendants had just formally accepted the prestigious role of the warden in the Sin world, marking a significant juncture in their family's legacy. As he closed his eyes and immersed himself in the newfound power, a realization washed over him. The energy coursing through him was nothing short of extraordinary. Sensing a connection to the outside world, a flicker of hope ignited within him, suggesting the possibility of returning home. The sensation mirrored that of clutching a key, symbolizing the potential to unlock the gateway to his homeworld. Eager to experiment with this newfound ability, he extended his hands and successfully conjured a ball of light, testing the limits of his newfound capabilities. Encouraged by the success, he resolved to create a portal to the human world, the very gateway that would facilitate his return home. With the gate now open, he could discern the familiar sight of his grandparents' shop from the Sin world, filling him with immense joy. Overwhelmed by the sight of the open gateway, a profound sense of happiness enveloped him. The prospect of finally returning home stirred an even greater sense of jubilation within him. Just as he was on the verge of stepping through the gateway, she materialized behind him, introducing an unforeseen complication. Despite being the newly appointed Sin World controller, he needed the special weapon of the Kong family to formalize his right of entry and exit. Bewildered, he questioned the existence of the enigmatic special weapon, insisting that he possessed nothing beyond the copper coin hanging from his necklace. Cloaked in an aura of secrecy, she admitted knowledge of the weapon's whereabouts, but remained unwilling to disclose its location. With a sudden clap of her hands, she orchestrated a bewildering transformation in his surroundings. He stared down in astonishment at the unforeseen alteration that had taken place. Employing her mystical powers, she levitated him off the ground, positioning him directly above a mysterious hole. The sensation induced a palpable fear, gripping him as he hovered above the unknown depths. Abruptly releasing her ethereal hold, she reproached him for attempting an independent escape. In a cryptic revelation, she disclosed that the elusive special weapon resided not in some external location, but was, in fact, intricately connected to his own person. Rising from the ground in discomfort, he voiced his frustration, labeling her as an obvious immortal and questioning her stinginess, all while expressing concern about nearly losing his cherry in the process. Immediately, he stood up the other beings that were in. The Sin world smelled him and knew that he was the Kong family. And then they decided to take revenge for imprisoning them for thousands of years and say that even though they couldn't kill him, they would make his life miserable. He was confused when he saw a group of people surrounding him and then told them that he was the new boss and why exactly they wanted to kill him. They decided to attack him together, but he just stood there while they attacked him countlessly and did nothing because it didn't even hurt, so there was no need for him to dodge or counterattack. In the aftermath of relentless onslaughts, wearied by the ceaseless barrage, they grappled with the realization that he, the sinister puppeteer, held dominion over the Sin world, rendering their physical assaults impotent against his formidable defenses. Acknowledging the futility of conventional means, they resolved to employ ethereal tactics, venturing into the realm of spiritual warfare. Employing the esoteric and elusive technique of the phantomless sleeping demon, they sought to ensnare him within the labyrinth of his own subconscious. He expressed a desire to excavate the darkest recesses of his consciousness, permitting the deluge of his most harrowing memories to consume him in the chilling embrace of his nightmares. As he lay prostrate, submerged within the haunting tapestry of his memories, the weight of recollections threatened to drown him in the depths of his own despair. A flood of memories surged forth, encapsulating his life post-setup. Echoes of scorn and derision from those he considered comrades, accusations of incompetence, branding him as the architect of their collective demise. His cherished relationship crumbled, the shards of affection replaced by a damning verdict from his former paramour, who once perceived him as a prodigy, now blinded by disillusionment. Whispers of calamity enveloped his family, with rumors circulating that every member had met an untimely demise. In the throes of this introspective maelstrom, happiness eluded him, yet as the memories began to wane, an ephemeral sense of relief crept in. With eyes fluttering open, the spectral residue of inner demons dissipated, leaving behind a victorious and unburdened soul, the conqueror of his own shadows. Swiftly upon awakening, he found himself suffused with an overwhelming surge of power, a newfound strength coursing through his veins. Abruptly sensing a presence on his hand, he unleashed a powerful swing towards those who had assaulted him, the force emanating from his reinvigorated being. Puzzled, he scrutinized his hand, discovering an enigmatic weapon, its origin shrouded in mystery. Questioning the authenticity of his perceptions, he pondered whether it was mere hallucination. The young maiden approached Jiang Yai from behind, extending congratulations and affirming that the mysterious weapon now conferred upon him the legitimate mantle of managerial authority within the Sin world. The indomitable Kang family boasts a legacy tied to the awe-inspiring Godwipe, hailed as their mightiest weapon. This legendary artifact, shrouded in mystique, stands as a testament to the family's formidable lineage. Passed down through the annals of time, the Godwipe finds its origins in the hands of Kong Zia, the esteemed ancestor of the Kong family. Its enduring legacy transcends generations, a cherished heirloom with a history steeped in martial prowess. Within the sacred confines of the Jade Void Palace, the celestial abode of Yuanxi Tianzun, the Godwipe reigns as the most coveted treasure. This esteemed holy man of the Himalayas safeguards this relic, designed specifically to triumph over the 8 gods in the celestial battlefield. Gifted to Kang Zia, the Godwipe played a pivotal role in the completion of a divine sealing ceremony. This extraordinary artifact measures precisely 3 feet and 6 inches, intricately divided into 21 sections. Each section bears 4 symbolic seals, amounting to a grand total of 84 symbolic imprints, underscoring its sacred significance. Embracing their heritage as members of the Kang family, the pursuit of this extraordinary treasure becomes an inherent obligation. The Godwipe symbolizes not only martial supremacy, but also the familial duty to safeguard and wield this unparalleled artifact passed down through the corridors of time. She told him that he didn't know how to use it, but he was busy rejoicing over the fact that his ancestors were rich, and then he turned towards the people that had attacked him and said he was going to give it a try and ask to attack him first. Brandishing the special weapon with an air of confidence, he aimed it resolutely at one of his adversaries, declaring his intent to test the might of his Godwipe. Faced with impending punishment, the targeted individual beseeched for mercy, tears streaming down his face as he pleaded for clemency from this formidable excellency. Anticipation hung in the air as he initiated the wipe, yet to the astonishment of onlookers, nothing transpired. A collective silence enveloped the surroundings, morphing into amused disbelief at the unexpected turn of events. Witnessing the failed attempt, the enigmatic figure burst into laughter, prompting his bewildered query. He demanded to know why she found amusement when the proclaimed strongest weapon proved ineffective. In response, she dismissed him as foolish and enlightened him about the intricacies of the Godwipe. Explaining the 21 sections, each adorned with 4 symbols, she elucidated that the counselor's authority spanned 21 levels, each corresponding to a symbol and growing in potency. With a hint of condescension, she instructed him to activate level 1, thereby engaging the first section of symbols. Only then, she assured, would he unlock the true potential of the Godwipe and unleash its formidable power upon his adversaries. Initiating the Godwipe with newfound understanding, he unleashed its power upon those who had previously assaulted him. The strike proved devastating, inflicting severe damage on each of his adversaries standing in the vicinity. As he surveyed the aftermath of the onslaught, a mixture of surprise and incredulity crossed his face. Witnessing the extent of the injuries sustained by his now battered opponents, he couldn't help but find the efficacy of the Godwipe somewhat staggering, bordering on the realm of exaggeration. Then the lady told him that quelling the Sin rebellion was a task for the administrators, so it was only natural that they were rewarded for completing it. Now he is free to go in and out of the world. He asked her if she was not afraid that he would use the wipe against her since she was giving him too much information. She told him that she had already served her sentence and was no longer under the wipe. Continuing her counsel, she imparted the wisdom that many ancient laws were no longer applicable in the present moment, a sentiment he readily concurred with. In acknowledging the evolving nature of societal norms, they found common ground in understanding the need for adaptability and reconsideration of outdated legal constructs. He asked if there might have been many such trapped demons and sinful immortals in the Sin world because the Kang family had not appeared. She replied that it didn't matter since he was now bound to the Sin world. He had to bear the fate of the sinful world and could not run away. Encouraged by their newfound alliance, she proposed an alliance of a different kind, asking him to escort her out of their current realm. In return, she promised to impart the secrets of cultivation, a skill that could potentially elevate him to dominance in the human world. Agreeing to her proposition, he consented to accompany her. However, his motivations differed from a desire for dominance. Instead, he sought to rectify past injustices and clear the lingering shadows of his previous misdeeds. As the gates to their current realm swung open, they found themselves transported to the human world. In the process, however, he stumbled and fell, the transition proving more challenging than anticipated. Emerging from the ethereal boundary into the human world, she expressed delight at her return after a prolonged absence. The air of nostalgia accompanied her happiness, marking the significance of their arrival. Confirming their successful transition, he stood up, signaling their safe exit from the sinful world and the commencement of their journey in the realm of humanity. Then he turned and saw that those three guys that were attacking him before were still running, and then he was amazed because it had only been a few seconds in reality. Her gaze lingered on Kang Yai, gratitude evident in her eyes as he demonstrated his willingness to escort her out of the sinful world. A silent acknowledgement passed between them, recognizing the significance of this gesture. In that moment, a realization dawned upon her. Observing Kang Yai's determination, she harbored a belief that he held the potential to rescue a world on the brink of collapse due to sin. The seeds of hope sprouted in her mind, anchored in his strength and commitment. The physical toll of their journey weighed heavily on Jiang Yai, evident in his labored breaths after traversing the sinful world for an extended period. A tinge of regret colored his thoughts, questioning the wisdom of venturing out to purchase clothes in light of his exhaustion. Strolling alongside him in the human world, she couldn't help but notice the curious stares directed at her. Seizing the moment, she quizzically inquired about the milk tea and hot pot that people were discussing. Expressing her interest, she conveyed a desire to partake in these culinary delights, adding a touch of levity to their journey. People not help but whisper and talk about her dressing or cosplay, and how they didn't know that Jiang Yai's child had grown up that big, even though he was not married yet. He was embarrassed when he had what they were saying, and then he blushed. People brought out their phone and started recording and saying that the cosplay was beautiful, great material, and the father and daughter were also cute. But then, one of the man recordings recognized Jiang Yai and said that he looked familiar, like he had seen him somewhere. Upon being recognized, urgency surged through him, and without a moment's hesitation, Kang Yai swiftly picked her up, initiating a rapid escape. Running through the terrain, his speed surpassed their pursuers, creating a considerable distance between them and potential capture. Relief washed over him when they found a concealed location, offering a temporary refuge. The breakneck pace at which he had evaded pursuit left their pursuers unable to catch up or discover their whereabouts. However, the respite was short-lived as she urgently needed to change her clothes. Amidst the chaotic escape, a staff member from a women's boutique approached him, her frustration palpable. She admonished him to behave, emphasizing the need for composure in the midst of their hurried escape. A sudden realization dawned on him as he looked around, taking in the surroundings of women's boutiques, innerwear, and clothing. A blush of embarrassment painted his face when he recognized the nature of the establishment, adding an unexpected layer of awkwardness to their escape. Kang Yai's eyes widened as he stumbled upon a line of women in the midst of changing their clothes. The shock on their faces mirrored his own astonishment at finding himself inadvertently in a women's boutique. Realizing his unintentional intrusion, Kang Yai swiftly offered an apology to the startled women, assuring them that he hadn't meant to invade their dressing room. The sincerity in his apology aimed to diffuse any discomfort caused by the unexpected encounter. Amidst the unexpected scenario, Miss Su emerged from the dressing room wearing a swimsuit. Addressing Kang Yai, she sought his opinion on the outfit, questioning whether it appeared too revealing. She further critiqued the material, expressing surprise at its unconventional nature, and noted that the vestments lacked the desired level of stretchiness. The encounter added a humorous twist to the situation, blending embarrassment with the unexpected critique of swimwear. When one of the staff saw, she told him why he didn't say that he wanted to buy a swimming suit for his daughter. But she spoke up immediately and said that she was not his daughter and that she was just staying at his house, and they didn't even know each other. Miss Su's candid remarks about the revealing nature and peculiar material of the swimsuit left the other ladies momentarily speechless. Faced with the unexpected commentary, a collective realization dawned that some action or response was necessary to address the unforeseen situation. The atmosphere shifted as the women contemplated their next move, each processing the peculiar turn of events in their own way. Faced with the escalating tension, the ladies, feeling cornered, hurriedly reached for their phones to report what they perceived as a case of kidnapping to the police. Simultaneously, Jiang Yai, realizing the gravity of the situation, seized Miss Su's hand and implored her about the repercussions of her actions, expressing that she had inadvertently implicated him. Amidst this, a concerned onlooker shouted for him to halt. Assessing the urgency of the situation, Miss Su, determined to rectify the misunderstanding, decided to utilize her mystical powers. Recognizing the need for a swift change in appearance, especially considering her current attire, a swimsuit, she began channeling her abilities to transform her appearance. In a flash, Miss Su successfully utilized her powers to metamorphose from the swimsuit into her original set of clothes, seamlessly returning to the attire she wore before the unexpected escapade into the women's boutique. This sudden transformation aimed to dispel the misunderstanding and restore a semblance of normalcy to the unfolding situation. As they were running, he saw that she has changed and told her that if he had known that she could change clothes, he wouldn't have to buy it. But then she replied by telling him that the spell to change clothes consumes magic power and there was no match spiritual energy there. In their hasty escape, Kang Yai and Miss Su encountered a lady with striking purple hair, her serious expression catching their attention as they rushed past. The purple-haired woman abruptly halted, a sense of foreboding washing over her as she detected an ancient and malevolent scent in the air. The unmistakable aura of ancient evil lingered, prompting her to take notice of the unfolding situation. As the police issued commands to halt the alleged kidnappers, the purple-haired woman sprang into action. Drawing upon her mystical abilities, she produced a magical paper and declared that the kidnapper had met an unfortunate fate by crossing her path. As a practitioner of the righteous path, she vowed to punish and eliminate evil, signaling her unwavering commitment to maintaining justice. Upon finally reaching the safety of home, Kang Yai exhaled a sigh of relief, the tension dissipating as he settled into a seat. The trials and challenges of the day had subsided, allowing for a moment of respite and reflection. Few minutes later, Miss Su came out and said that she had changed her clothes, so when were they going to play outside? She told her that they shouldn't go outside for a while, and if she wants to watch something interesting, let her use the computer which has everything in it. Kang Yai unveiled a computer game, leaving her amazed as she tentatively touched the device, inquiring if it was what people referred to as a computer game. Confirming her curiosity, Kang Yai asserted his divine status, proclaiming himself as a real god. Excitement sparkled in her eyes as she eagerly expressed her desire to join in and play the game. Inspired by the idea of collaboration, Kang Yai envisioned the formidable team they could become by joining forces with Su. Recognizing the potential invincibility that lay in their partnership, he felt a surge of optimism about reclaiming their former glory. Brimming with happiness at this newfound strategy, Kang Yai envisioned a swift return to the top. Confident in the power of their combined efforts, he believed that success was imminent. Kang Yai approached her with the intention of offering guidance on playing the game, but she adamantly insisted that she understood it perfectly and that she was unbeatable. Her confidence hinted at a competitive spirit, setting the stage for a spirited gaming experience. The room fell into stunned silence the moment she suffered defeat in the game. The unexpected turn of events left both Kang Yai and Su momentarily speechless, their anticipation replaced by a shared sense of surprise. Jiang Yai couldn't hide his disappointment as he observed Su's defeat. The frustration stemmed not only from her loss, but also from her reluctance to accept guidance or instruction from him. Her independent approach had proven to be less successful than anticipated. Undeterred by her defeat, Su refused to let it affect her. Instead of dwelling on the setback, she continued to immerse herself in the gaming experience, finding the challenge and excitement invigorating. Her resilience in the face of defeat hinted at a determined spirit, ready to embrace the complexities of the virtual world. He stood behind her and told her that he wanted to teach her how to play the game, but she lost and wouldn't listen. Su just ignored him while he talked behind her and was busy playing her games. In a sudden and mystical entrance, a magic paper floated into their room, surrounded by a golden medium light, capturing their attention. This enchanted paper wielded the power to expel evil spirits, its purpose evident as it lay on the room's floor. Its mere presence hinted at a force combating unseen malevolence. The magic paper transformed into a paperman, attempting to enter the room where Kang Yai and Su were engrossed in their game. However, it encountered resistance, blocked by a formidable magic power emanating from within. Despite multiple attempts to breach the room, the paperman faced insurmountable obstacles. Exhausted from its futile endeavors, it eventually succumbed to weariness and fell to the floor. Unfazed by the mystical occurrence, Su continued to immerse herself in the game. Entranced by the computer's capabilities, she marveled at its functions, expressing her intent to create a similar device in the future. Her enthusiasm for the game and technological innovation remained undiminished. Jiang Yai, seizing the opportunity for growth, suggested to Su that she should explore learning new moves to create innovative weapons. Eager to progress, he reminded her of the promise to teach him the art of practice. Responding to his request, Su snapped her fingers, conjuring a book into existence. Pointing to his hands, she directed him to acquire the items listed in the book as a prerequisite for their practice. Urging him to cease any further arguments, Su waved him off, emphasizing the importance of obtaining the items in the book. With a determined focus on her game, she asserted her intent to commence their practice once the necessary materials were secured. Seeing that he had been handed a book, he was very excited. It a book about the Medicine King Sutra, the initiation of cultivation, decreasing of marrow and bone, and the use of drugs to break away from the physical body. Jiang Yai's initial joy turned to dismay as he perused the contents of the book. It listed high-grade goods, each carrying a hefty price tag, including items like ginseng. The realization that acquiring the specified goods would drain his hard-earned savings prompted him to voice his complaints. Frustration mounted as he grappled with the financial implications of this unexpected expenditure. Voicing his discontent about the impending financial strain, Jiang Yai bemoaned the fact that his career savings were now earmarked for the purchase of these expensive, high-grade items. Once Jiang Yai departed, Su, seemingly unbothered, stood up and casually stepped on the paperman. However, her wince suggested that even the mystical being wasn't immune to the physical realm. After lifting her leg from the paperman, Su shifted her attention to the virtual realm. Displeased with her gaming group's performance, she attributed their loss to external factors, specifically blaming it on the field within the game. Then she used her feet to pick up the paperman that was struggling to release himself. She looked at it and said that the little paperman was very spiritual and it seemed to be a family treasure, just that it was a pity that the spellcaster is not skilled in the art and had a limited distance. Expressing her discontent, Su criticized the apparent lack of progress in the skills of the dumb monk from the Talisman School, highlighting the perceived stagnation over thousands of years. Exhibiting a mixture of amusement and scorn, she tightly squeezed the paperman, causing it to tremble in her grasp. Her actions served as a form of mockery, further emphasizing her disdain for the mystical being. Unrelenting in her amusement, Su decided to escalate matters by casting a stronger spell on the paperman. The magical energies intensified, promising a more potent effect on the enchanted being. Concluding her interaction with the paperman, Su bid it farewell just as it dashed out of the window upon being released. The mystical creature, now under the influence of her magic, embarked on a journey beyond the confines of the room. Meanwhile, at the herbal shop where Jiang Yai stood contemplating the purchase of medicinal herbs listed in the book, the paperman faced a new challenge. The paperman, struggling to climb up Jiang Yai's legs, tightly held on to him with a mixture of anger and determination. Despite its apparent reluctance, the enchanted being persisted in its ascent, clinging to Jiang Yai's body in a peculiar display of mystical interaction. The purple head girl closed her eyes to sense where the paperman was, and when she saw it, she opened her eyes and immediately headed toward the direction she sensed it. Fueled by urgency, Su leaped onto a window ledge, preparing to dash towards the location where she had sensed the paperman. Determined not to be late, she propelled herself forward at high speed, navigating through the environment with agility and focus as she closed in on the paperman's location. Arriving at the medicinal herbal shop, Su positioned herself outside, her gaze fixed on Jiang Yai within, as he engaged in the process of purchasing herbs. Channeling her magical abilities, Su initiated incantations, summoning her paper soldiers to prepare for an imminent battle. The air around her crackled with mystical energy as she readied her forces. As the incantation took effect, the paper man, previously in motion, abruptly ceased its advance. It stood frozen, as if manipulated by an external force responding to Sue's magical summons. Meanwhile, inside the shop, the staff informed Zhang Yai that certain medicines were incompatible with each other. Unperturbed, he brushed off the concern, insisting on acquiring the herbs despite the potential risks, emphasizing the urgency of the situation. Startled by an unexpected noise, Zhang Yai turned and encountered a peculiar sight, a paperman standing on a heart. The significance of this mystical display puzzled him. The purple-headed girl, seemingly the creator of the paperman, found herself under attack by her own creation. Confused and sitting on the floor, she questioned why the seemingly cheerful paperman had turned hostile. In her distressed state, the girl pointed at Zhang Yai, labeling him a demon and demanding an explanation for his alleged actions. The sudden accusation left Zhang Yai bewildered, struggling to comprehend the unfolding situation. Zhang Yai, grappling with confusion, had turned to investigate the noise only to find himself accused without understanding the reason behind it. The perplexing turn of events left him at a loss. In an attempt to diffuse the tension, Zhang Yai extended his hands, offering assistance to the girl who had been attacked. He inquired about her well-being and offered help, trying to make sense of the situation. Instead of accepting the offered help, the girl became fearful, interpreting Zhang Yai's gestures as a prelude to another attack. Her apprehension escalated, driven by the belief that he was attempting to harm her once again. She jumped up immediately and then tumbled while positioning herself to fight and telling him that he shouldn't even think about attacking her again. She brought her magical papers to rid of the evil and then told him that he had committed a crime in the street, defiled her treasure, and now he tried to take advantage of someone. She raised the paper up and then proclaimed that she was Fei Louis of the Tianxin sect, so she was going to kill him today for the sake of the heavens. Kang Ya was confused and then asked what was going on. He was surprised that one could run into a practitioner even when shopping. He asked why she had attacked him. As she launched an attack on him, one of her papermen immediately jumped and then blocked off the attack for him. She was surprised when her paperman had countered her attack. She pointed at him and called him despicable. She had been injured due to the counterattack, and then she asked him how he knew about their school paper folding technique. He was confused, and then asked her what she has been doing to herself just now and if real practitioners be reckless. After that, she decided to cast another spell. She said that she wanted to keep a low profile, but since he was forcing her, she has no other option but to show her through strength. In a moment of frustration and perceived threat, she conjured numerous magic papers with her hands, each imbued with the power to dispel evil. Intent on using them, she prepared to deploy the mystical papers against him. Sensing danger, she swiftly drew her sword, branding him a demon and compelling him to gaze upon the blade's potential. The atmosphere grew tense as the confrontation escalated. In response to her intimidation, Zhang Yai, feeling a surge of fear, insisted there was nothing for him to see in her sword. His attempt to downplay the situation reflected his desire to diffuse the conflict. Recognizing the imminent danger, Zhang Yai took decisive action. Anticipating an attack, he swiftly opened a gate to return home, prioritizing his safety over further engagement. The portal offered him a swift escape, highlighting the instinct for self-preservation. Left surprised and disbelieving, she couldn't fathom how he had managed to elude her. His unexpected escape left her in a state of shock, grappling with the realization that he had slipped away from her grasp. She paused a bit and didn't understand what was going on. The aura she's just smelled is not the same as the sinful aura that she had smelled before. It wasn't also the same as the spell aura on the paper soldier, so she wondered if it was possible that they could be a group of evil cultivation. The staff then pulled her out of her thoughts and asked her if the two of them were playing cosplay and shooting dirty magic. Then he told her not to affect his business. Then he stretched out his hand and asked her to pay for the magic herbs that Kang Ya had collected. She tried to defend herself, but the shop owner just told Hai that he understood everything well, that they were screen enemies, and in reality they were CP. Following the completion of her payment, the shop owner shared his perspective, acknowledging the strength of her companion's magical abilities. His remark hinted at a recognition of the potency of the mystical talents demonstrated by Sue's man. In a desolate and fiery landscape where the heat permeated the air, a lady occupied a central throne. The barren surroundings echoed with the flickering flames, setting a dramatic stage for her presence. Catching a tantalizing scent, the lady licked her lips in anticipation, her senses heightened by the aroma of something enticing wafting through the air. Detecting the essence of what she believed to be an immortal weapon treasure, the lady expressed her intent to seize and indulge in the newfound acquisition, eager to explore its potential. Engrossed in the virtual realm, Sue's reactions echoed in the real world as she continued to play the game. Each defeat prompted her to vocalize her frustration through persistent screams, creating an audible expression of her intense gaming experience. Immersed in the intense gameplay, Sue's attention fixated on the virtual world when, unexpectedly, a gate materialized within the room. The sudden appearance of the portal added a layer of mystique to the atmosphere. Seizing the opportune moment, Kang Yai, having successfully purchased the medicinal herbs, rushed into the room. The gate served as a bridge between the realms, allowing him to seamlessly transition from the herbal shop to the space where Sue was engrossed in her game. Then he fell down immediately. He got sense, and then the gates closed. He signed in relief when he got back, and then said that he had finally got out of danger. Sue turned to him and told him that what he had just done was dangerous because he had given away his sinful breath. Now that everyone was aware of the unusual presence, his troubles were still ahead of him. Kangya became scared when he heard of the word trouble, and then he complained that he had opened the gate before, and nothing had happened, but still replied by telling him because it was the fact that she was with him. When she saw that she had been defeated in the game due to the talk, she became angry. She angrily threw the mouse on the floor and then said that her opponent was targeting her since she was dead again. Continuing her virtual conquest, Sue asserted confidently that, in reality, her opponents would meet their demise within a few moves. Meanwhile, Kang Yai, witnessing the prowess of his broken mouse, found himself overcome with tears. Distraught by the predicament of not having the funds to replace the damaged mouse, Kang Yai expressed his financial constraint. In a moment of apparent generosity, Sue snapped her fingers, signaling a mystical intervention. Instantly responding to her gesture, Kang Yai found a brand new mouse in his palm. The unexpected gift brought joy to his eyes as he marveled at the sudden replacement. Grateful for the new mouse, Kang Yai, still emotional, asked Sue if she could finally teach him the art of practice. Eager to learn, he sought guidance to enhance his skills. Willing to impart her knowledge, Sue agreed to teach Kang Yai under one condition. He had to assist her in overcoming a formidable opponent on the other side of the virtual realm, a player she found challenging and mean-spirited. The proposed alliance added a layer of cooperative gaming to their unfolding adventure. Wholeheartedly agreeing to Sue's condition, Kang Yai positioned himself in front of the gaming system, confidently declaring that games were his forte and expressing his readiness for the challenge. In the midst of the game, Kang Yai, intrigued by Sue's remarkable performance, pointed at the impressive score on the computer screen. Curious and impressed, he inquired about the strategy or skill that had led to such amazing records, eager to unravel the secrets behind her gaming prowess. Then it struck to him that she was not playing under her own name, but she was playing under his name. He knew that it was over. He had been defeated countless times, and his opponents made a mockery of him because he called himself a professional player. Seeing that he was making trouble because of losing the games, she hit him on his head and then told him that he better get some sleep, that she would make it up to him. The following day, a medicinal concoction was meticulously prepared for Jiang Ya, aimed at priming his body for the impending cultivation. Abruptly, his eyes snapped open, the remnants of Sue's previous assault still lingering in his memory. Startled, he beheld Sue thrusting her hands into his bathwater, entirely unclothed. Jiang Ya, taken aback and filled with indignation, demanded an explanation for her actions. Undeterred, she retained an annoyed expression, seemingly unapologetic for whatever had transpired. Sue clarified that she was merely assisting him in changing his bone marrow, enhancing the potency of the world's somewhat lackluster herbs with a touch of spiritual energy to facilitate absorption. The mere mention of the word taste left Jiang Ya dumbfounded, his mind momentarily frozen as he soaked in the bath. The unexpected reference to taste left him feeling embarrassed in the vulnerable setting. Complying with Sue's instructions to continue soaking, Jiang Ya listened as she promised to craft a body-refining treasure for him, adding a layer of mystique to their interaction in the tranquil setting of the bath. Suddenly, a wince crossed Jiang Ya's face as he instinctively reached for his neck, as if attempting to grasp something elusive in his memory. The unexpected physical reaction hinted at the complexity of his thoughts, introducing an element of mystery to the scene. Emerging from the medicinal bath, he laid eyes on what Sue introduced as a transformative device capable of reshaping his physique. She assured him it would expedite his progress beyond mortal limits. Advising him to don the bodybuilding device and engage in regular exercise, Sue couldn't help but smirk at the perplexed expression on his face. Unrevealed to him, the device included monitoring functions, enabling Sue to clandestinely observe him and gather potential leverage from his dark history. Frustrated by the transformation, resembling toy transformers sold to elementary school students, Zhang Ya questioned whether it would evolve like the hero transformer. Disregarding his inquiry, Sue proceeded to activate the transformation watch on Jiang Ya's hands, leaving him utterly flabbergasted by the sudden initiation of the mystical device. Undeterred, Sue emphasized a unique philosophy, asserting that the less aesthetically pleasing the artifact, the more incentive Jiang Ya would have to improve his physique. This unconventional approach added an element of humor and motivation to the situation. The activated device revealed its functionality. It compressed the flow of qi and blood, compelling Jiang Ya to absorb external aura during exercise. The device promised to provide 100 times the training volume with 10 times the weight, presenting a formidable challenge for physical improvement. Sue elucidated that, as long as Jiang Ya remained active, the device would autonomously refine his body. The autonomous nature of the process added an intriguing element to the prospect of physical enhancement, introducing an element of mystique to the transformative journey. Initially optimistic about the seemingly removable toy watch, Zhang Ya soon came to the realization of its necessity. He had to wear it consistently for a week, a requirement that challenged his initial enthusiasm. Sue, acting as a guide in this transformative journey, reminded Jiang Ya of the importance of exercising outdoors to harness enhanced aura. This suggestion, however, elicited an unpleasant expression from him, hinting at the potential challenges that lay ahead. Finding himself immersed in a profuse exercise routine in a park filled with onlookers, Jiang Ya's initial optimism turned into mounting embarrassment. The public setting added a layer of vulnerability to his transformative journey. As he exercised in the park, some onlookers recognized Jiang Ya, and soon gossip and mockery began to spread through the crowd. The public attention intensified the challenges of his physical transformation, exposing him to the judgment and commentary of those around him. Adding a touch of humor to the situation, an elderly lady in the crowd compared Jiang Ya unfavorably to an old man's brother, prompting laughter among the onlookers. The unexpected comparison highlighted the humorous and often unpredictable nature of public perception. A curious kid in the crowd couldn't help but compliment Jiang Ya's 7-colored transformation watch, expressing admiration and questioning whether it was the latest model. The child's innocent curiosity added a touch of positivity to the public spectacle. In a contrasting perspective, another child boldly claimed that their own watch was far superior, dismissing Jiang Ya's as nothing more than a mere imitation. This assertion introduced an element of rivalry among the children, creating a small but lively debate within the onlooking crowd. The gossip within the crowd continued to intensify, and Jiang Ya found himself caught in the midst of misconceptions and judgments. Despite the growing embarrassment, he remained resolute, choosing to ignore the crowd's opinions and focusing on his commitment to the transformative process. Noticing the crowd's reaction, 2 troublemakers seized the opportunity to exploit Jiang Ya for money. The unfolding situation hinted at the potential challenges and unexpected consequences that could arise when one becomes the center of attention in a public setting. Confronted by the duo of troublemakers, Jiang Ya remained surprisingly unfazed, standing his ground in the face of their intimidation. His unwavering demeanor prompted their sudden retreat, revealing the strength within him that they hadn't anticipated. The failed attempt at intimidation forced the troublemakers into a hasty retreat, and realizing their error, they offered a hurried apology. Jiang Ya's resilience in the face of adversity showcased his determination and hinted at the newfound confidence he derived from his transformative journey. Intrigued by the crowd's reaction, Jiang Ya, attuned to the energies around him, sensed a peculiar demonic aura. Contemplating the potential connection between this aura and his ongoing leveling up, he found himself drawn into a deeper exploration of the mystical forces at play in his journey. Recognizing the opportunity for further advancement, Jiang Ya, bolstered by his recent experiences, prepared himself for a forthcoming battle. The anticipation of a new challenge added a layer of excitement and determination to his evolving narrative, setting the stage for the next chapter in his transformative journey. Within the eerie confines of an abandoned factory, a subordinate relayed the unsettling news to his boss. Jiang Ya's unusual presence had disrupted the flow of protection money, leaving them without their expected gains. The abnormal circumstance demanded the boss's attention. Responding to the subordinate's report, the boss, displaying ominous red eyes, made a decisive decision to confront Jiang Ya directly. The choice to confront the source of disruption hinted at the boss's determination to maintain control and restore order within their territory. As the boss and his cohorts entered the factory confidently, Jiang Ya, seemingly anticipating their arrival, took a bold stance. Informed of their pursuit, he calmly asserted that seeking him out was unnecessary. He had already arrived. His confident demeanor set the stage for a confrontation that would determine the power dynamics within this abandoned setting. In a contrasting setting, Sue, engrossed in her virtual game, belatedly sensed the impending fight. Acknowledging the situation as an exercise, she brought a unique perspective to the unfolding events, viewing the imminent clash as a challenge to be navigated within the realm of her game. The convergence of virtual and real-world experiences added a layer of complexity to the narrative. Pointing out Jiang Ya as a potential threat, the gangsters, recognizing the gravity of the situation, warned their boss about the looming confrontation. Their cautious tone reflected an acknowledgement of the unknown variables posed by Jiang Ya and urged the boss to approach the encounter with care. As the gangsters surrounded Jiang Ya, intending to establish control, they inadvertently found themselves trapped by his strategic positioning. The unexpected turn of events hinted at Jiang Ya's cunning and strategic prowess, setting the stage for a confrontation where the balance of power seemed more fluid than initially anticipated. Having initiated the encounter, Jiang Ya, undeterred by the outnumbered odds, prepared himself for the impending confrontation. His readiness to face the challenge head-on showcased a resolve that transcended the mere physicality of the situation, introducing an element of determination and purpose. Amidst the unfolding action, Sue, engrossed in her virtual game, suddenly realized she had forgotten to mention the dual purpose of the impending fight, a form of exercise. The juxtaposition of the intense, real-world confrontation with Sue's obliviousness in the virtual realm added a layer of humor to the evolving narrative. Within the gang, a member identified Jiang Ya to their boss, painting a vivid picture of his perceived malevolence and advising caution in dealing with this formidable adversary. The emphasis on caution reflected the acknowledgement of Jiang Ya's potential threat and the need for strategic consideration. Amidst escalating tensions, two gangsters within the group encouraged their companions to embrace aggression, asserting that it was the key to success in their gang endeavors. The call for aggression hinted at the internal dynamics and values shaping the gang's approach to challenges, adding a layer of intensity to the impending confrontation. Undeterred by the rising tension and confident in his newfound strength, Jiang Ya readied himself for the upcoming fight. Aware that victory was now within his grasp, his determination and readiness showcased the transformative progress he had achieved. The stage was set for a clash that would not only test his physical abilities, but also his strategic acumen in navigating the complexities of gang dynamics. Witnessing Jiang Ya's confident smile, a shiver ran down their spines. It was a grin that spoke of countless encounters with the brink of life and death. His companion acknowledged him as a seasoned warrior, urging the rest to reassess their approach. Displaying nonchalance, Jiang Ya extended his hand, daring one of his adversaries to absorb the impact of his punch. The provocative gesture set the tone for the impending clash, showcasing his confidence in his abilities. Executing a swift strike to the opponent's stomach, Jiang Ya followed up with a calm directive for surrender. The seamless combination of physical prowess and strategic communication highlighted his mastery over the unfolding situation, introducing an element of control to the confrontation. As the adversaries nervously peered down at their chests, a collective sense of relief washed over them. The fear of injury had momentarily gripped their minds when Jiang Ya's punch landed, but to their reassurance, they found themselves unharmed. The unexpected turn of events added a layer of suspense and relief to the dynamics of the scuffle. Amidst the scuffle and the seemingly innocuous toy watch, the artifact at the heart of it all suddenly came to life. The activation of the watch hinted at its hidden capabilities, introducing an element of mystique and potential surprise to the ongoing confrontation. Laughter erupted as the first opponent shrugged off Jiang Ya's punch. Their initial impression had painted him as a formidable fighter, only to discover he was just a middle-aged man with a playful accessory. Undeterred, they opted for a united assault, recognizing the need to overcome the unexpected resilience. Armed with a rod, they closed in, targeting Jiang Ya's hands. In a reflexive attempt to defend himself, he bore the brunt of their attack. Astonishingly, the rod, intended for harm, yielded to an unexpected force. The metallic clang echoed as it collided with an unexpectedly robust obstacle, leaving both Jiang Ya and his assailants in bewildered amazement. Saying that the road had bent when it hit him, he said that he has yet to try the strength of his body after the body cleansing. The gangsters around were shocked. Jiang Ya picked a rod and hit him on his head to try it out again, and then the rod bent. He was smiling when he saw that he couldn't be injured by anything again. The gangsters surrounding the scene stood in shock and speechlessness, finding the unfolding events utterly unbelievable. The unexpected turn of events had left them bewildered, introducing an element of astonishment into the atmosphere. Skepticism took hold of one gangster who couldn't fathom the reality before him. In an attempt to test the validity of the situation, he picked up a fire extinguisher and threw it directly at Jiang Ya's head. Jiang Ya, reacting to the impact, turned to face the source of the disturbance. Despite the forceful blow, he remained unscathed, as if the object had barely grazed him. The display of his resilience left the onlookers in a state of disbelief, questioning the boundaries of reality in front of them. The gangster who had initiated the attack, realizing his miscalculation, knelt down immediately in tears. Overwhelmed with remorse, he began begging for mercy, acknowledging his wrongdoing in the face of Jiang Ya's seemingly invulnerable demeanor. The emotional response added a layer of complexity to the unfolding narrative, revealing the impact of Jiang Ya's display of strength on those present. They decided to run away before Jiang Ya could react and do anything. They called him a madman while running away. He tried to stop them and told them that he just wanted to ask something. Seeing that they wouldn't stop, he picked up gas and told them that if they wouldn't stop running, he would set that place on fire by blowing up the factory. That way, everyone would die, and he wouldn't. They surrendered immediately after they heard his words. Seizing control of the situation, Jiang Ya sternly instructed the gangsters to reveal the truth about their recent business dealings. He demanded full transparency, urging them to disclose every detail of their recent activities. Meanwhile, in an underground base, vigilant guards stood watch, monitoring their surroundings to detect any signs of suspicious individuals or activities. The atmosphere in the hidden facility crackled with tension as the guards remained on high alert, ready to respond to any potential threat. Animals lay around inside the base, and amid the animals, the boss of the base sat there and was smoking. They planned to go into the mountain by midnight and shoot a wide tiger. If they succeeded that night, they would spend 3 years without hunting. He held a card with a dark, dangerous aura on it, and then said that with that card he was holding, they wouldn't fail. The two guards watching the underground base wondered why no one had come to change shift with them yet. They were 10 minutes late and asked if they were the ones feeding the mosquitoes at the base. They turned towards Jiang Ya, who was working towards the mandiba, relieved that one of them was coming at least. They asked what took him so long immediately he got there and inquired if he was the only one that came. He apologized and said that he had a little game and had a bad stomach, so he came first. They reminded him how many times they had warned them not to open his own kitchen and complained how they stood there for so long. But immediately, he brought out the cigarettes. They lessened their complaints. Jiang Ya told them to give him a break and then told them that they should come and smoke a cigarette. It was actually good stuff. They enjoyed the cigarette and also felt that it was quite good and comfortable. They asked him what brand it was and said that they had not seen it before. 2 minutes after smoking, they were knocked out by it. Jiang Ya replied by telling them that, of course, it was comfortable because it was the best recipe of the Yakushika Sutra that was in the book Su gave to him. He tied the other guards that had also smoked and were misbehaving. They had no idea of what was going on, and then kept them behind the walls. He remembered how he had gotten out information about the warehouse from the green-hair gangster that he had beaten up. If they didn't have the guts to see the warehouse, then he had the gut, so he was going to see it. As Zhang Ya opened the door to the warehouse, an overwhelming and putrid odor, akin to the stench of strong sin, wafted out into the surroundings. The dark and foreboding scent hung heavily in the air, setting an unsettling atmosphere. The noxious smell permeating from the warehouse hinted at something deeply disturbing. A scent tainted with the essence of strong sin, intensifying the gravity of the situation. Determined to uncover the source of the ominous smell, Jiang Ya flicked on the lights within the warehouse, illuminating the space and revealing the hidden secrets within. The sight that met Jiang Ya inside the warehouse was shocking and left him utterly speechless. The contents of the space unveiled a disturbing tableau that defied his expectations, prompting a visceral reaction to the unsettling scene. The warehouse held a macabre collection. Dead animals, living animals, and the skeletal remains of some creatures coexisting in a grim tableau. The revelation plunged Zhang Ya into a realm of horror, as the stark contrast between life and death unfolded before him within the confined space of the warehouse. The distressing sight within the warehouse revealed an alarming inventory, numerous endangered animals and plants, sparking Jiang Ya's concern. A surge of speculation gripped him, wondering if the warehouse was a hub for a wildlife poaching gang, contributing to the illegal trade that threatened these vulnerable species. Walking further into the warehouse, Jiang Ya's discontent grew as he absorbed the extent of the exploitation. The grim reality of endangered animals and plants confined within the space weighed heavily on him, fueling a sense of urgency to address the injustice before him. Abruptly, a bear struck its paw against the cage in front of him, catching Jiang Ya off guard. The sudden and unexpected movement elicited a scream from him, revealing the tension and fear that permeated the environment. The bear, seemingly distressed or agitated, echoed Jiang Ya's scream, projecting a loud and intimidating roar within the confines of its cage. The encounter heightened the atmosphere of confrontation, with the bear appearing ready to defend itself against perceived threats. The empathy within Jiang Ya deepened as he observed the animals in captivity, their confinement starkly contrasting with the freedom they should have enjoyed. The realization of their restricted existence stirred a profound sadness, amplifying his determination to address the plight of these imprisoned creatures. Despite the bear's attempts to communicate, Jiang Ya found himself unable to comprehend the meaning behind its vocalizations. The barriers of language and species hindered any meaningful understanding between them. Suddenly struck by inspiration, Jiang Ya's mind sparked like a light bulb illuminating his thoughts. A realization dawned on him, a potential solution that could bridge the communication gap and unveil the messages hidden within the bear's attempts to convey something important. In the sinful world, a bigger bear too tall and screamed out that the sinful land was his since he is a black bear. He was not going to let anyone go. But his speech was interrupted when he felt a hand on his shoulder. He was confused for a moment. The hand drew him out of the sinful world into the modern world. Jiang Ya crusted around the bear's neck and told him to interpret what the bear in the cage was saying. The bear's sinful world was confused for a moment. Then a moment later, it struck him that he was no longer in the sinful world, that he was free, and the aura around was the smell of Reiki. He screamed out of joy that he was free and was no longer in the sinful world. That him, the black bear spirit, is finally out. Jiang Ya called him and told him to turn around. The bear asked who dared to provoke him as he turned. When he saw the special weapon of the sinful world warden, he recognized it immediately. He knelt in front of the warden and thanked him for his hard work and then apologized for not seeing him and greeting him earlier. Jiang Ya told him to translate what the bear in the cage was saying, and the black bear was angry and asked who dared to keep them. The black bear, as a prisoner. He told him to hurry up and that he was holding him, wasn't he? So he told him to hurry up and translate. The bear told him that he would translate immediately. The black bear walked up to the bear in the cage and was listening to him while he narrated what had happened. She explained that she was a mama bear and a man with a fire stick hunted them down and killed the entire black bear family. She and her baby bear went into hiding and got caught. The mama bear was crying. And then the black bear told Jiang Ya that the mama bear was already a wise man because of the actions she had taken. The black bear then turned to the warden and told him that he smelled that he didn't have any smell of bad guys, so he wanted to beg him to save the bear's mother and their children. After listening to the translation, Zheng Ya opened the door to the sinful world and threw the bear into the sinful world while he screamed, saying that he had been imprisoned in the word of sin in order to avenge his family. Hearing the bear scream that it hurt while he passed through the door, he knew that his current level of the demon release is still very low, and his whole body felt very weak. After that, he went to the mama bear that was in the cage and told her he would take the poaching gang down and that she shouldn't worry. But there were other things that he needed her help with. Deep within the forest, a wildlife guard carefully traced footprints that hinted at the presence of poachers, individuals who had previously wreaked havoc on the delicate ecosystem, mercilessly slaughtering the wildlife. His intuition warned him that the poachers were at it again, this time aiming to extinguish the lives of other innocent creatures in the nearby forest. Amidst the trees, two gangsters overseeing the illicit operation found amusement in witnessing a mother bear fiercely defending her precious cub. Swiftly, the wildlife guard emerged, brandishing his gun, sternly commanding them to halt their malicious activities. In a matter of seconds, the two gangsters lay wounded, victims of their own malevolence. Unyielding, the guard vowed not to let them escape justice, his firearm pointed resolutely at the fallen intruders. The gang's boss recognized the dedicated forest ranger, recalling their previous encounter when he was chased and shot. He inquired to confirm the ranger's identity, stating that this time, luck would not be on the ranger's side. Unfazed, the ranger was informed that the gang leader had bolstered his forces and was confident he could not be thwarted. Weapons drawn, the gangsters targeted both the ranger and the protective bear. In frustration, the ranger questioned the prevalence of lawlessness among villains. Just as tension peaked, Zhang Ya materialized before the forest ranger, declaring that justice would prevail now that he had arrived. Addressing the ranger, Zhang Ya instructed him to inform the Forestry Police and Landscape Bureau of the ongoing situation. Expressing concern, the ranger advised Zhang Ya to be cautious, emphasizing the urgency of spreading awareness about poaching. Observing the scene, one of the gang members expressed suspicion, questioning the sudden turn of events. Another gang member shared the sentiment, confident that the boss never missed a shot. The gang leader's demeanor shifted, acknowledging an unsettling feeling, aware that something was amiss. Sensing the presence of a similar type of ghost card, the gang leader decided to let Zhang Ya exhaust his ghost energy, understanding the value of what the intruder possessed. Instructing his gang, the leader commanded them to unleash all their ammunition without fear. Zhang Ya, momentarily perplexed, pondered whether the gang leader was aware of the Sin World, given his mention of valuable assets. Bullets were fired at Zhang Ya, yet none managed to make contact, inexplicably plummeting to the ground upon reaching his face. Realizing they were out of bullets, a gang member informed the boss that the remaining shots should suffice, based on their experience. Confidently approaching, the gang leader held his ghost tag, expressing ignorance about the sect that issued Zhang Ya's ghost tag. Zhang Ya, appearing unexpectedly behind him, suspected the gang leader's involvement with a corrupt sect, particularly after hearing him discuss the ghost card. The gang leader, attempting to strike with a special wand, found his efforts futile, indicating that Zhang Ya was not an evil practitioner. Recalling a conversation with Su about the effectiveness of divine weapons only for practitioners, Zhang Ya was surprised to learn the gang leader was not an evil practitioner. The gang leader questioned if Zhang Ya's ghost card was an illusion, prompting Zhang Ya to remember his earlier conversation with Su. Realizing that he couldn't directly combat the gang leader, Zhang Ya prepared to teach him a lesson through an alternative approach. Harnessing his powers, Zhang Ya conjured a golden bird, surprising the gang leader with this unexpected display of mystical prowess. Commanding a bird to summon wild animals, Zhang Ya gathered a formidable assembly of creatures around him. With the wildlife standing united behind him, Zhang Ya addressed the gang leader, proclaiming that he had sinned against these innocent beings and allowing nature itself to administer justice. In a state of panic, the poachers found themselves surrounded by the wild animals, realizing their ammunition had been depleted, leaving them defenseless. The gang's leader, bewildered by the unexpected turn of events, questioned Zhang Ya's identity, doubting the ability of a ghost card to control animals and birds. Undeterred, Zhang Ya boldly asserted that he didn't expect the gang leader to believe he could control animals, stating that if such power existed, he would have harnessed it long ago. Agreeing with the gang leader's skepticism, Zhang Ya clarified that he wasn't controlling the animals, but instead sought guidance from his ancestors, offering the wildlife a metaphorical lecture. Thus, he explained that his influence over the creatures stemmed from a spiritual connection, not direct control. Taking charge, Jiang Ya commanded a nearby wolf to advance and attack, the creature obediently following his directive. Seizing the moment, the gang leader rallied his associates, instructing them to gather around. Despite the pleas of some members, the boss assured them that dealing with wild animals was not new, urging them to confront any newcomers with lethal force, while defiantly claiming they were unafraid. Jiang Ya explained to them that typically, the wildlife roamed independently. However, the current situation made dealing with them more manageable since they were unified. Employing a strategy to organize all the animals, including the airborne swordsman and the pangolin, required careful spelling out of positions. Each attack launched against the wildlife proved futile, instilling fear as they realized their limited options. The gang's leader felt frustration welling up as he faced the prospect of using the stored energy of his ghost card. Utilizing such energy for this purpose would exact a toll of 2 years from his lifespan, leaving him with no alternative. As Fei Louis navigated her car, memories of an ominous aura she sensed a few days prior haunted her. Subsequently, a ghostly omen of the sinister path heightened her unease, leaving her perplexed about recent events. Trailing the ghostly trail, she discovered the poaching warehouse. But alas, she arrived too late, a stroke of unfortunate luck. Abruptly, a forest ranger emerged from the woods, intercepting her car. Approaching her window, he cautioned her against proceeding any further, and upon inquiry, disclosed an ongoing emergency unsuitable for recreational camping. Confusion enveloped him as Faye mysteriously vanished from her car, leaving him bewildered. Perplexed by the uncanny events of the day, one immune to bullets and the other inexplicably disappearing, the ranger found the circumstances highly peculiar. Pondering the unusual string of coincidences, he noted the fearlessness against bullets and the spontaneous disappearance, adding another layer of intrigue to the day's events. Pursuing the ghostly trail once more, Faye ascended a tree, retracing the scent she had initially detected a few days ago. Then she froze when she detected the scent of sin up ahead, a familiar odor from before. When the gang's boss activated the ghost card, a sinister purple light enveloped him, forcefully pushing away all the wild animals in his vicinity. Witnessing the transformation to evil, the wild animals scattered, prompting him to command the white animals to vacate the premises immediately. However, Jiang Ya countered by unveiling his special weapon, launching an attack infused with the power of the ghost card, a swarm of insects. He boldly asserted that the boss's malevolent tricks would not harm him. Reacting to the unfolding events, the boss unleashed an attack, compelling the surrounding plants to restrain Jiang Ya. Nonchalantly, he instructed Jiang Ya to savor his predicament while he prepared to depart. Just as he was about to leave, Faye appeared and cast her own spell, declaring him a demon destined for punishment. Observing the struggle, Jiang Ya inquired if Faye had come to his aid, dismissing the strength of the plants as a minor hindrance. Recognizing the need to escape, the boss wasted no time devising an exit strategy, launching attacks to divert their attention. Faye realized the overwhelming reinforcements and acknowledged her inability to handle all of them simultaneously. Opting for a strategic retreat, the boss exploited his reinforcements, ensuring a getaway without incurring losses. Pointing towards the fleeing man, Jiang Ya informed Faye that he was slipping through their grasp. Casting another spell, Faye commanded her vermilion bird to apprehend the fleeing thief. The boss, determined to evade capture, utilized ghost smoke transport for a swift relocation. Jiang Ya immediately recognized the urgency of preventing his escape, emphasizing the importance of circumventing the protective charm on him. Sensing the opportune moment, Faye ordered the vermilion blade to take action. The vermilion bird complied, spewing fire from its mouth onto the escaping gang boss, attempting ghost transport, resulting in a fiery explosion. Despite emitting unsettling vibes, the boss clarified to Faye that he was a virtuous individual skilled in capturing demons, albeit with a hint of darkness. Jiang Ya's focus wavered when he received a notification stating that the demon had reappeared, urging him to swiftly apprehend the elusive foe. Upon successfully seizing control of the bandit's body, the demon promptly asserted its dominance, unequivocally declaring that the vessel now belonged to him. However, encountering unexpected resistance from the original owner, unwilling to relinquish control, the demon faced challenges in asserting its full possession of the body. The purple-headed girl, unable to ignore the peculiar situation, inquired about the man's condition. Jiang Yai explained that the recent attack had rendered the man unconscious, providing the opportune moment for the demon to take control. Observing the formidable strength of the demon, Jiang Yai noticed an increase in the Sin World's power flowing to the entity. Paradoxically, This fortuitously uncovered his body-refining artifact from the Sin World's grasp, granting him greater freedom of movement. Apologizing for her earlier suspicions, the purple-headed girl expressed remorse to Zhang Yai, who graciously accepted her apology, understanding the nature of the misunderstanding. Despite the preceding tension, they refocused on the impending battle with the demon, each readying their respective weapons. Zhang Yai with his golden staff, and the purple-headed girl with her talisman. Unexpectedly, before they could initiate their offensive, the demon cunningly positioned itself behind the purple-headed girl, taunting her with comments about the enticing aroma of her flesh. Swiftly launching an attack aimed at severing her head, the demon was thwarted by Zhang Yai, who instinctively used his hand as a shield to protect his companion. Biting into Zhang Yai's hand, the demon recoiled, expressing disgust at the unfamiliar taste, prompting inquiry into the nature of the repulsive substance. Infuriated, the demon aggressively targeted both Zhang Yai and the purple-headed girl, berating them for their perceived hypocrisy and repulsiveness while demanding their lives. Acknowledging the overwhelming strength of the demon's attack, the purple-headed girl expressed concern. However, Zhang Yai reassured her that their defense lay not in physical strength but in their unique skills. Following the demon's assault, Zhang Yai sensed an ominous infection in the area where he was struck, losing awareness of his surroundings, vision, and even the execution of his own attack moves. Succumbing to the mysterious ailment, Zhang Yai collapsed to the ground, prompting the purple-headed girl to rush to his side, calling out to him in vain as he fainted. Swiftly administering a life-preserving elixir, the purple-headed girl assured Zhang Yai of its rapid efficacy and urged him to flee urgently if time was of the essence. In a gesture of reconciliation for their earlier misunderstanding, she explained that the elixir served as compensation, emphasizing her sincerity in aiding him. Turning her attention to the demon, the purple-headed girl activated her true martial blood talisman chart, invoking the power of sprints and warning the demon of an impending encirclement by thousands of righteous individuals. Dismissing her warning, the demon derisively brushed aside her attack power, countering with an active attack that struck her face. Laughingly, the demon proclaimed its intent to not only take over the purple-headed girl's body, but also dominate the collective consciousness of righteous individuals worldwide. Just as the demon prepared to inflict harm, Zhang Yai re-entered the fray, prompting the purple-headed girl's astonishment and concern. She urgently urged him to escape before the demon turned its aggression toward him. Defying her plea, Zhang Yai asserted his commitment to the battle, declaring that he could not abandon the fight and must stay to confront the malevolent entity. In response to the demon's query about Zhang Yai's choice of weapon, a sword, the conversation was interrupted as the demon insinuated a potential tactic to lower its guard. Zhang Yai, addressing the demon, advised against excessive self-consciousness, acknowledging that he too was a recent learner of these sword techniques. However, an underlying thought lingered in his mind: his resort to blackmailing pills for blood recovery. Upon hearing Zhang Yai's revelation, the demon couldn't restrain his disdain, dismissing him as a mere martial arts practitioner. He questioned the audacity behind Zhang Yai's clandestine attack. Unfazed, the demon asserted his superiority, nonchalantly declaring the minor wound inflicted upon him inconsequential. With an air of arrogance, he claimed the ability to mend it using his soul energy, cautioning against unwarranted arrogance. Reflecting on the demon's mention of soul energy, the purple-haired figure couldn't help but recall its nature. Sharing this knowledge with Zhang Yai, she identified it as a blood soul curse, unveiling the ominous connection. Expanding on the sinister origins of the ghost card, she explained that it was crafted through the blood spirit spell, a malevolent incantation that refines the life force of mortals, nurturing their souls. Cognizant of the perilous implications of the demon's evil spell, she urged Zhang Yai to exercise caution. Offering her assistance, she expressed her intention to detain the demon momentarily, allowing him an opportunity to escape if he chose to do so. Undeterred by the purple-headed girl's concern, Zhang Yai reassured her. He proclaimed himself a super soldier, confident in his ability to confront any challenge. Simultaneously, he encouraged her to observe, emphasizing his capability to handle the situation with ease. Without hesitation, Zhang Yai swiftly advanced toward the menacing demon, reassuring the purple-headed girl that he would return shortly. In response, she anxiously admonished him to exercise caution in the face of danger. The persistent demon taunted Zhang Yai, incessantly urging him to approach. With a maniacal laughter escaping its lips, the demon ominously promised that sooner or later, Jiang Yai's flesh would become its possession. Employing a dynamic strategy, Jiang Yai launched a barrage of attacks from various angles, skillfully evading the demon's retaliatory strikes. In a daring maneuver, he executed the cleaver martial art style, propelling himself skyward with impressive agility. Seizing the opportunity, the demon questioned Jiang Yai about the martial arts power he had unleashed. With an air of malevolence, it declared its intent to kill him, yet also suggested that such an attempt was futile with a mere martial art. To the demon's astonishment, Jiang Yai vanished from the sky, reappearing directly in front of it. In a decisive move, he thrust his golden sword into the demon's heart, leaving it in shock and agony. Jiang Yai elucidated that he had employed the ordered sword slashing technique, specifically designed to vanquish demons like his adversary. Further elaborating, Jiang Yai revealed his use of the phantom sword style to mask the true nature of his attack. With a sly grin, he asked the demon if it comprehended his tactics, all while maintaining a meaningful expression. Dismissing the demon with a vulgar gesture, Jiang Yai asserted his supremacy in solo combat, asserting that despite the demon's age advantage, he was the preeminent solo killer in the country. Acknowledging Jiang Yai's prowess, the demon conceded his worthiness as a formidable adversary among many. Unfazed, the demon asserted the invincibility of his blood soul spell, claiming that as long as his soul body remained intact, his soul energy would persist, rendering him immortal. Amused by the demon's bravado, Jiang Yai urged him to grasp the gravity of his predicament and directed him to inspect the wound on his chest. Perplexed, the demon inquired about Jiang Yai's cryptic statement, but soon realized that his soul energy was dissipating. Bewildered, he questioned the whereabouts of his escaping soul energy. Jiang Yai, seizing the opportunity, elucidated that his sole purpose in the confrontation was to approach the demon, unlocking the door to the sin world. As the demon wailed in agony, Jiang Yai bid him farewell, pushing him into the sin world door with a triumphant resolve. Within the sin world, another figure boasted about his sword skills and pondered the possibility of living without them, a manifestation of sword madness. Sensing the intrusion, the figure turned and marveled at the demon's soul energy, considering it a potent tonic. He berated the demon for audaciously venturing into his domain. Exhausted but victorious, Jiang Yai and the purple-headed girl lay on the ground, exhaling sighs of relief as they acknowledged that it was finally over. Jiang Yai, despite the recent victory over the evil demon, found an unsettling feeling lingering within him, a nagging sense that something was amiss. It was as if the malevolent force had not been entirely eradicated. However, he struggled to pinpoint the source of his unease or comprehend the reasons behind this persistent disquiet. Simultaneously, atop a remote mountain, a demon abruptly awoke, emitting a piercing scream. Inquiring vehemently, the demon sought answers as to who had dispatched his doppelganger. A young man, assuming a leadership role, directed a fellow police comrade to lead him to the location where the captured bandits were detained. Urging the officer forward, he emphasized the urgency of their mission. Continuing, he informed the police officer about a benevolent citizen in need of rescue, underscoring the imperative to expedite their intervention and save the said individual. Their shock escalated as they reached the area where the bandits were secured. To their astonishment, the criminals were sprawled out, some asleep, and others suspended in unconventional positions, leaving the young man and the police officer momentarily speechless. Rationalizing the scene, the young man asserted that the prone figures on the ground were indeed the murderers. However, their leader was conspicuously absent, prompting a shift in their focus to locate him. Steering in a different direction, they encountered the leader, who was exhibiting erratic behavior, walking aimlessly, singing, and dancing with abandon. The young man and the police officer watched in stunned silence, grappling with the inexplicable transformation in the leader and his group. As Jiang Yai and the purple-headed girl, along with the young man and the police officer, pursued the frenzied leader, urging him to halt, Jiang Yai couldn't help but entertain the thought that justice had finally arrived. He anticipated the apprehension of the murderer and the subsequent imprisonment for a significant duration, perhaps ranging from 8 to 10 years. Amid these reflections, the purple-headed girl expressed confidence that they would be rewarded for their virtuous deed when they eventually returned. Intrigued, Jiang Yai turned to her, bringing them into close proximity, and inquired about the nature of the reward. The purple-headed girl blushed, responding with shyness, imploring him to maintain a bit of distance due to their closeness, her face reddening. Quick to respond to her discomfort, Jiang Yai offered a swift apology, assuring her that he would step back momentarily as he adjusted his position. To his surprise, when he discovered that the bodybuilder within him had been activated, panic gripped him, and he urgently screamed at her to clear the way. However, she remained perplexed, unable to comprehend the unfolding situation. Suddenly, he collapsed on top of her, his expression marked with shame as the bodybuilder wrested control over his body. The purple-headed girl, bewildered and disbelieving, couldn't help but gaze at him in astonishment. Reacting swiftly, she pushed him away, her frustration evident. After the forceful shove, she unleashed a scream and delivered a resounding slap across Jiang Yai's face. Awkwardly, he could only stare back, his cheek now imprinted with the mark of her displeasure. Composing herself, she cleared her throat and addressed Jiang Yai, expressing understanding for his recent loss of strength in their battle. However, she sternly admonished him, insisting that such actions should not be repeated. Proceeding to clarify the nature of the reward, she revealed that it was a collective effort funded by several esteemed sects to acknowledge and reward those who upheld righteousness. She then questioned Jiang Yai about his treasure, probing whether it was a storage-type vessel and if there were potential dangers associated with it. Rendered speechless, Jiang Yai struggled to formulate a response. Continuing her inquiry, she pressed on, asking whether the treasure was nameless and urging him, as a practitioner, to submit it to the Cultivation Alliance for identification to avoid potential peril. Dismissing the suggestion, Jiang Yai asserted that there was no need, abruptly remembering that he had neglected to turn off his stove before engaging in battle with the demon. Opening a door, he signaled his intention to depart. Before the purple-headed girl could react, he entered the door, shutting it behind him. Left in frustration, she voiced her annoyance, questioning why he couldn't have offered her a ride. Emerging on the other side of the door in his home, Jiang Yai sighed in relief, grateful that he had left before the purple-headed girl could subject him to further inquiries. Upon his return, Su threw a box at him, announcing that his alchemy potion was now complete. However, she went on to inform him that his alchemy furnace was malfunctioning and urged him to replace it with a new one by the following day. Confused by the mention of a potion furnace, Jiang Yai struggled to comprehend the concept, wondering if it had any relation to his pressure cooker. Determined to unravel the mystery, he headed to the kitchen, only to discover that the potion furnace was none other than his beloved pressure cooker, now ruined, leaving his kitchen in disarray. Engulfed in sorrow over the state of his ravaged kitchen, Kangria found himself on the brink of tears. Su, on the other hand, regarded him with a knowing gaze, acknowledging his deeds from that fateful day. She assured him of a promising future, addressing him by the endearing name Kangria. Prior to delving into matters at hand, Su expressed her desire to witness how Kangria would handle the impending encounter with the elusive old ghoul who had yet to make an appearance. Unveiling a box entrusted to her by Jiang Yai, Su opened it only to be informed that he hesitated to consume the elixir she had crafted. Undeterred, she insisted that he partake in it, asserting that he lacked the discernment of what was beneficial. Jiang Yai, in response, pointed out the uniform round shape of the items, questioning who would dare to consume such a dark dish. Undeterred by his reluctance, Su sternly urged him to strengthen himself for the upcoming battle. Displaying her frustration, she forcefully opened his mouth and poured the dark dish down his throat, emphasizing the urgency of his physical enhancement. Helplessly, Jiang Yai watched as the dark concoction made its way into his system, pondering the implications of the imminent battle. Inquisitive, Jiang Yai sought clarification on which button to press, but Su asserted that he must confront the battle independently. She announced her departure to gather herbs for him, assuring that these herbs would contribute to perfecting his body refinement. Before leaving, Su endearingly handed him a life savings pouch, urging him to carry it wherever he went. Placing it on the table where Jiang Yai lay, she reminded him to utilize it in fights or any other endeavor. As Jiang Yai contemplated the impending battle, Su's mention of it lingered in his thoughts, prompting him to ponder whether he should learn more about his opponent or the specifics of the confrontation. While contemplating, a young boy entered and confidently stood before Jiang Yai, inquiring about the availability of cakes for purchase. The boy, displaying a smile, placed money on the table, expressing his eagerness to buy. Jiang Yai grappled with thoughts of the upcoming battle when the young boy, presumably a customer, engaged him, seeking to acquire one of his cakes. Apologetically, Jiang Yai checked his drawer only to realize that he had depleted his cake stock due to his intense training. He apologized to the disappointed child, explaining that he had run out of cakes. Undeterred, the following day, Jiang Yai visited Old Man Lao Zhou's establishment, expressing his intention to replenish his stock for the day. Observing the exorbitant prices of the ice creams, Jiang Yai couldn't help but comment on their unaffordability, expressing his financial constraints to Old Man Lao Zhou. Turning to Old Man Lao Zhou with a sweet tone, Jiang Yai appealed for a more reasonable price, invoking their acquaintance to strike a favorable deal. Engaging in a polite conversation, Jiang Yai requested an affordable price, emphasizing their mutual familiarity to secure a more budget-friendly transaction. The digital clock on the wall blinked with the elongated numbers 586, but Old Man Lao Zhou, weathered by time, suddenly pivoted on his heels. With surprising agility, he lunged at Jiang Yai, sinking his teeth into his hand with a ferocity that drew forth crimson rivers of blood. The unexpected assault prompted Jiang Yai to demand an explanation, bewildered by the fact that Lao Zhou's body, seemingly sturdy with successful marrow, yielded to the pressure of biting teeth with disconcerting ease. Gazing at his hand, tendrils of purple smoke swirling from the wound, Jiang Yai couldn't shake the feeling that some venomous force sought to infect him. The eerie spectacle fueled his curiosity, leading him to question the nature of this ominous art. Undeterred, Old Man Chow launched another attack, compelling Jiang Yai to unsheath his golden sword. In that moment, he couldn't ignore the realization that this was the very confrontation Su had forewarned him about. Faced with Old Man Chow's aggression, Jiang Yai declared their friendship and vowed to protect his companion, even at the cost of his own life. Repeated blows to Old Man Chow's head caused the aged assailant to crumple to the ground. Jiang Yai, surveying the aftermath, concluded that he had done his utmost to save his friend. Without hesitation, he hoisted Old Man Chow onto his tricycle, urgency propelling him towards the hospital at breakneck speed. Racing towards the hospital, Jiang Yai encountered a throng of people. Desperate to reach his destination, he pleaded with them to make way, emphasizing the urgency of the situation. Suddenly, the crowd turned and fixated their gaze on him. A collective movement ensued as they surged towards him, revealing an unsettling truth. They were under some malevolent influence. Observing the townsfolk behaving oddly, Jiang Yai couldn't fathom the cause. Murmuring the word biohazard, he sensed a pervasive threat lingering in the air. Atop the hospital building, an old demon grinned triumphantly. It became apparent that he had orchestrated this mass manipulation, holding the entire town in his malevolent sway. Realizing that relying solely on his whip against the multitude would prove futile, Jiang Yai contemplated the dire situation. The sheer numbers of manipulated individuals dissuaded him from testing his luck. Acknowledging that violence wasn't the solution, Jiang Yai contemplated alternative methods to save the townspeople from the grip of manipulation. He recognized the risk of permanently harming them if he resorted to force. Faced with the urgency of the situation, Jiang Yai decided to flee on his tricycle, buying time to strategize and devise a more enduring solution to free the townspeople from the mysterious control. As he maneuvered through the affected town, the realization dawned upon him. The manipulation had ensnared every resident. The enormity of the predicament weighed heavily on him, prompting a search for a comprehensive resolution to this pervasive crisis. Jiang Yai observed the widespread impact on the entire town, and he couldn't help but perceive it as a significant issue, given his lack of knowledge about magic. Contemplating this, he realized he was on the verge of colliding with one of the female residents while riding his tricycle. In a hasty response, he dismounted the tricycle to prevent any harm to the townspeople. Sensing that something was amiss, he couldn't refrain from acknowledging the issue as the tricycle came to a halt. This made it apparent, and he was genuinely concerned about unintentionally causing harm to the townsfolk. Reflecting on the situation, he voiced his suspicion that the affected individuals resembled those influenced by the ghost card in a previous encounter. Alternatively, he pondered whether this incident was linked to a prior occurrence he had witnessed, asserting that if that were the case, resolving it would be straightforward, as he possessed the authority to utilize any item entering the realm of sin. Consequently, he instructed the ghost card to be handed to him, intending to employ it to halt the manipulated individuals. Observing the manipulated female sprawled on the ground, he couldn't suppress a scream, realizing that the ghost card wielded potent capabilities, serving as a fortuitous means to thwart his assailants. Recognizing its exceptional efficacy, he concluded that decorum need not constrain him in its utilization. Indeed, he resolved to deploy it without reservation, exploiting its full potential. A surge of manipulated individuals bore down on him, prompting him to swiftly produce the ghost card, poised to take decisive action. As the manipulated townspeople beheld the ghost card, their cohesion unraveled, impeding their advance towards Jiang Yai. Witnessing this phenomenon, Jiang Yai, rather than succumbing to overconfidence, couldn't stifle his concern, vociferating a query about the whereabouts of the malevolent mastermind. Before he could press further about the mastermind's location, the ghost card, clutched in his hand, succumbed to a clandestine assault. Discarding the ruined ghost card, he surveyed his surroundings, inquiring about the assailant with a throbbing, injured hand. The unveiled mastermind, a demon, confronted Jiang Yai, asserting his ancient origins and emphasizing that even Jiang Yai's ancestors had not yet come into existence during his birth. Expounding on this, the demon urged Jiang Yai to attentively heed his introduction. Towering with an unyielding presence, he proclaimed himself as the scion of the Corpse King Shogun, named Bile. Unfazed, young Jiang Yai voiced skepticism, suggesting that the demon seemed malevolent. He pressed the demon to explain the poisoning of the entire town, attributing it to Jiang Yai's Kang family. Smirking with an eccentric semblance, the demon insinuated a connection to the sin-laden word in Jiang Yai's possession as a possible catalyst for the misfortune. As Jiang Yai faced a critical decision, he found himself at a crossroads, torn between collaborating willingly with the formidable entity before him or succumbing to the ominous alternative of coercion through force. In response to the demon's unsettling proposition, Jiang Yai maintained an outward composure, displaying a calm and collected demeanor. He expressed a sense of relief, seemingly undeterred by the unsettling words emanating from the otherworldly being. Commandingly raising his golden staff, Jiang Yai declared that the impending confrontation was a battle he had eagerly anticipated, revealing a readiness to engage in the conflict that lay ahead. Swiftly launching into action, he aggressively attacked the demon with his gleaming golden staff, employing a formidable offensive maneuver to gain an upper hand in the unfolding struggle. However, Jiang Yai's confidence was quickly replaced by astonishment when the demon effortlessly evaded his assault, responding with mocking laughter. The unexpected turn of events left Jiang Yai visibly shaken and surprised. Seizing the moment, the demon dismissed the encounter as a mere hit, downplaying its significance. He conveyed to Jiang Yai that there was no cause for alarm or astonishment, diminishing the apparent strength of the Yang family over the years. Reflecting on the passage of time, the demon expressed skepticism about the Yang family's supposed growth in power. This commentary set the stage for a further exchange of blows and words between the two adversaries. Employing a dismissive gesture, the demon used his finger to strike Jiang Yai's golden staff, remarking on the unexpected fragility of a realm lord's weapon. The staff, cracking under the pressure, left Jiang Yai in disbelief. Despite the setback, Jiang Yai urged the continuation of their ongoing battle, challenging the demon to persevere in his efforts. Undeterred, he instructed the demon to play his part in the unfolding conflict. Employing one of his most potent techniques, the stabbing sword style, Jiang Yai targeted the demon's heart with a precision that instilled a sense of trepidation in his formidable adversary. As the battle intensified, the demon, now facing a formidable technique, taunted Jiang Yai with a revelation of his cultivation prowess, mastering the corpse drought, a skill focused on dismantling ki and blood. Jiang Yai's powerful techniques aimed at the demon's heart drew a reaction from the adversary, who expressed a mixture of pride and disdain at the sight of the weapon in Jiang Yai's hands. In a moment of revelation, the demon acknowledged the lineage of Jiang Yai's weapon, contrasting it with the superior craftsmanship of his own ancestors. This realization fueled the demon's anger at Jiang Yai's choice of weaponry. Angered by Jiang Yai's perceived inadequacy, the demon unleashed a formidable attack, prompting Jiang Yai to employ all his skill to evade the oncoming assault. Boasting of his control over the corpse drought cultivation, the demon threatened to sever Jiang Yai's hand, the very hand that had opened the Sin Realms, claiming that Jiang Yai had reached the end of his capabilities. In a display of superiority, the demon arrogantly asserted that Jiang Yai must acknowledge his own inferiority as he delivered a decisive blow to the back of Jiang Yai's leg. Reveling in his dominance, the demon insisted that Jiang Yai concede defeat, emphasizing the vast difference in their strengths and capabilities. Further elaborating on his ancient history, the demon recounted his long period of dormancy, during which he used his corpse energy to monitor the outside world. He expressed disbelief at encountering the Sin world and lamented his inability to remain invisible. Despite the demon's overwhelming power, he offered Jiang Yai an alternative, a chance for surrender. However, this proposition came with the condition of Jiang Yai becoming a blood slave, a prospect that Jiang Yai vehemently rejected. Undaunted by the demon's offer, Jiang Yai looked the formidable entity in the eye and promptly refused, choosing defiance over the prospect of becoming enslaved by the demon's blood pact. In this critical juncture, the demon menacingly warns him that unless he cooperates, the consequences will involve dealing with him through the manipulation of his eerie puppets. Taking command of his malevolent puppets, he directs them to assail Jiang Yai, all the while menacingly foretelling that his fleshy puppets will relentlessly torment him for the remainder of his existence. Witnessing the impending doom, Jiang Yai, with a heavy heart, realizes the gravity of the situation. Though Su had left a pouch with him, it seemed useless as entering the Sin world. His only source of potential aid was no longer an option. Suddenly, a figure emerges, brandishing a talisman as she hurries towards Jiang Yai. The enigmatic purple-headed girl affixes a talisman to Jiang Yai's body, astonishing him with its healing properties. Before he can express his gratitude, she advises him to seek reinforcements, as her talismans can only ward off a limited number of attacks. Turning to face the enemy, she readies numerous talismans, preparing for an imminent battle. While launching attacks with her talismans, she urges Jiang Yai to swiftly secure backup for the impending conflict. The demon, unable to contain his curiosity, inquires about the talisman array from the Tianqin school, expressing disdain for their tactics. Following the battle, Jiang Yai queries the purple-haired girl about the mysterious pouch. She confirms it as the forbidden treasure, the Sin world, which he couldn't mention earlier. Agreeing immediately, Jiang Yai opens the Sin world, revealing its contents. Retrieving a pouch from the Sin world, Jiang Yai confidently asserts his intention to unveil its contents. Displaying a proud smile, he opens the pouch, proclaiming that the demon he confronted earlier is sure to meet his demise with the item contained within. Observing the potent aura emanating from the pouch, the demon becomes apprehensive, acknowledging the potential danger if Jiang Yai succeeds. Jiang Yai, however, beams with happiness as he unveils the pouch's contents, only to be shocked to find a kitchen knife, accompanied by a note from Su, explaining it as a unique weapon crafted for him. Holding the knife, Jiang Yai explains the situation to the purple-headed girl, dismissing any concerns and expressing his familiarity with kitchen knife tactics. Unperturbed, the purple-haired girl encourages him, placing her faith in his abilities for the upcoming battle. Despite her skepticism, Jiang Yai reassures her, emphasizing his proficiency with the kitchen knife. With renewed determination, they plunge back into the battle against the demons and their puppets. Perplexed, the demon searches for his puppets, prompting him to question the purple-headed girl about their whereabouts. Before he can elaborate, Jiang Yai surprises him with a swift attack, asserting that if the whip won't defeat him, the kitchen knife surely will. Dismissing Jiang Yai's confidence, the demon insists that a mere kitchen knife cannot penetrate the body of a corpse. Unfazed, Jiang Yai raises the kitchen knife high and strikes the demon's head, leaving the demon bewildered and claiming that such an occurrence should be impossible. Acknowledging the effectiveness of the kitchen knife, Jiang Yai revels in taunting the demon, recalling his earlier skepticism. Jiang Yai continues to mock the demon, who concedes defeat, unable to maintain his true form any longer. In a desperate move, the demon transforms into his authentic demonic form, contemplating the use of Jiang Yai and the Sin world to create a new body. However, Jiang Yai assured him that death had visited him on numerous occasions, rendering him unafraid of a mere demon. Contemplating the utility of a kitchen knife, he envisioned using it as a weapon against the malevolent entity. In the heat of his assault, the kitchen knife was unexpectedly disarmed from Jiang Yai's grip by the now transformed demon. Constricted tightly by the demon's tentacle-like appendages, Jiang Yai found himself unable to break free from the entity's grasp. The demon, its tentacles ensnaring Jiang Yai, glared down at him with a mixture of rage and malice, vehemently urging him to meet his demise. Elevating Jiang Yai with its octopus-like limbs, the demon attempted to strangle him midair. Despite the peril, Jiang Yai defiantly informed the demon that the confrontation was far from over. In an instant, he summoned the kitchen knife to his side. As the kitchen knife materialized in Jiang Yai's grasp, He swiftly utilized it to sever the tightly coiled octopus limb that had ensnared him. This diversion caught the demon off guard, affording Jiang Yi the opportunity to evade and retreat from the malevolent entity. Witnessing Jiang Yi's evasion, the demon, now incensed, determined that Jiang Yi of the Yang family would become its prey. However, before the demon's attack could reach Jiang Yi, a purple-haired girl materialized, creating a protective barrier. She demanded that the demon release Jiang Yi. Urging Jiang Yi to flee, the purple-haired girl pledged to employ her formidable abilities to thwart the demon's pursuit. Jiang Yi, however, rebuffed the offer, asserting that he had already devised a plan. Intrigued, the purple-haired girl inquired about the plan, but the demon dismissed Jiang Yi's intentions as mere bluster. Undeterred, Jiang Yi revealed a piece of paper given to him by Su, outlining a strategic plan involving the activation of the brocade beetle and a 3-minute wait for her arrival. Before the demon could react, Jiang Yi triumphantly declared Su's presence, pointing to a newly opened portal with joy. Emerging from the portal, Su floated in midair, leaving both the purple-haired girl and the malevolent demon astonished and rendered speechless. Su playfully complained to Jiang Yi about being interrupted during her movie, teasing him about footing the bill for her ticket. In response, the demon marveled at Su's potent aura and questioned her identity. Amused, Su hinted at a connection to the remnants of corpse Taoism left behind by Shogun Bile. Unperturbed, the demon pressed Su to disclose her sect, but she dismissively referred to him as a child spouting nonsense. Perplexed, the demon struggled to locate Su, realizing he couldn't see her or sense her presence. Bewildered, the demon scanned the surroundings in a futile attempt to spot the elusive Su. He also went on to ask himself if that incredible display of agility was merely a result of her adept speed technique, or if it was simply a testament to her exceptional physical strength. However, Su suddenly materialized beside him, inquiring about his search while advising him to abandon pretense and engage in the impending battle without hesitation. Yet he conveyed to Su his hesitancy in facing her, expressing uncertainty about her seniority and expressing a desire to withdraw. With determination, he plunged his octopus-like hands into the ground, contemplating that initiating an attack would be wiser than awaiting imminent danger. Jiang Yi was taken aback as the demon's octopus hands transformed into razor-sharp claws, emerging from the ground and trapping them in an inescapable position. As the demon's appendages turned into lethal claws, digging relentlessly from the earth around them, the prospect of escape seemed increasingly elusive. Su promptly dismissed the unfolding spectacle as a mere childish trick, challenging Jiang Yi to prepare for an impending confrontation, to which he responded without hesitation. To commence the battle, Su opted to wield her popcorn as an unconventional weapon against the demonic adversary, hurling it with precision in the absence of any other available object or weapon. The demon, in disbelief, observed as the seemingly innocuous popcorn transformed into a razor-sharp projectile, almost cutting through his skin, an astonishing occurrence that left him questioning the nature of such an unexpected transformation. Witnessing his octopus limbs sever one after another due to the sharpness of the popcorn, the demon grappled with the intense pain and the realization of the popcorn's unexpectedly lethal nature. With his body parts severed, he expressed his inability to endure the excruciating pain, prompting him to unveil his ultimate move and defiantly assert that Su could not vanquish him. Employing his ultimate move, he made a sacrificial offering of his Ku-Yi and blood, ensuring his resurrection and imbuing him with an enduring corpse aura, marking the inception of a relentless and formidable adversary. Su appeared to have grown weary of toying with the remains of Taoism Man. She declared that she would no longer retain him, raising her hand while channeling her energy. Su elevated her left hand to harness the yin energy, while her right hand descended to manipulate the yang energy. In this synchronized motion, she crafted a reverse yin and yang formation. Directing the reverse yin and yang energy towards the inert body of Taoism Man, who stood at the formation's core, he reciprocated by unleashing his own powers. Despite Taoism Man's continued efforts in circulating his energy, he discovered he had regressed into a mortal. Puzzled by this transformation, considering his corpse key had persisted for millennia, he questioned the inexplicable turn of events. Still contemplating, Jiang Ya swiftly approached with his weapon, declaring it was now his turn to engage in combat. Striking Taoism Man on the head, he soared to the side, spewing blood. Jiang Ya promptly opened the portal to the Sin World, instructing him to leave his key and blood behind and serve his sentence. The portal engulfed Taoism Man, prompting joyous leaps from Su, who plucked out ethereal forms. Jiang Ya expressed happiness, albeit with a concern that he hoped Taoism man wouldn't face excessive mistreatment in the Sin world. Seizing the cloudy forms, Su gleefully stuffed them into Jiang Ya's mouth. She explained that this constituted the final medicine for his body refinement, unclaimed ki and blood. Jiang Ya inquired why he was consuming unclaimed ki and blood when she had promised to gather medicine for him. Su insisted that corpse ki was the optimal remedy, revealing that now that he had successfully refined his body, it was time to confront the tribulation. Pointing towards the sky, Su directed Jiang Ya's attention to the gathering thunder and lightning, leaving him startled. Gazing skyward with the girl who had rescued him, Jiang Ya exclaimed in awe as the tribulation appeared overwhelming and formidable. The girl who saved Jiang Ya wondered why the tribulation differed significantly from her own body refinement experience. She recalled having magical formations, potions, and weapons shielding her during that time. Inquiring about the abnormal strength of the tribulation, the girl asked Su if such a potent ordeal was customary. Jiang Ya, still fixated on the sky, remarked that it surpassed the Ascension tribulation mentioned in the book. Su questioned whether it truly was a body-refining tribulation, as her own experience had been dissimilar. She vividly described lying on a metallic surface while lightning struck her. Jiang Ya and the rescued girl were shocked upon witnessing the depiction of her tribulation. Inwardly questioning the deviation from her prior experience, Su wondered if this intensity was normal. Jiang Ya and the rescued girl remained visibly taken aback. Suddenly, lightning struck at the center where Jiang Ya and the girl stood, forcing them to separate. Su, holding the girl's hand, explained that they couldn't be present at the tribulation's inception, as it might amplify its intensity. Su and the girl leaped to a distant location to avoid the tribulation, leaving Jiang Ya observing. He wondered where the magic formations, potions, and weapons he had planned to use were. Before Jiang Ya could react, lightning struck him, and he shouted while trembling. Concerned, the girl who had saved Jiang Ya asked Su if he would be all right. Unfazed, Su folded her hands and stood leisurely. Despite continuous lightning strikes, Jiang Ya endured the tribulation without vocalizing pain. Instead, he maintained a calm demeanor. Suddenly, he sucked something into his mouth, pure ki. It appeared that the lightning was extracting pure ki from him during the strikes. Jiang Ya looked down at himself, touched his body, and then exclaimed that he was perfectly fine, even after being struck by lightning. Su communicated with him telepathically, informing him that as the Lord of the Sin world, he inherited the blessings of his ancestors and would be cared for and blessed by the heavens. Su pondered that no one in the Jiang family had faced tribulation for a very long time, accumulating a considerable amount of good fortune. She encouraged him to pursue whatever he desired, as each thunderbolt would only make him stronger. Jiang Ya exclaimed joyfully that the exhilaration of challenging the heavens was boundless as he raised his hands and shouted out. Just then, the people affected by the corpse ki woke up one after another and witnessed the scene. One of them remarked that it was noisy and questioned why there was thunder. Another person lying on the ground complained of a headache. When all the men stood up, one of them pointed at Jiang Ya, accusing him of being struck for his misdeeds. Another man questioned what kind of sin he had committed to be struck by so many lightning bolts. However, upon closer inspection, it seemed like he was holding something in his hand, a metallic sword. Jiang Ya raised the metallic sword as the lightning struck him. Jiang Ya stated happily that the weapon had absorbed the thunder of the tribulation, exclaiming that his first significant piece of equipment had finally been born. Holding the weapon joyfully, he seemed oblivious to the fact that two demon ki had emerged and left from inside the weapon. The two demonic ki that emerged from the weapon turned out to be two ladies, one with blonde hair and the other with white hair. The one with white hair called the blonde-haired lady sister and informed her that it was time for them to leave their legacy in the human world. When the two sisters reached a street, they looked around. The white-haired lady told the blonde-haired lady that the human world was more prosperous than they had been told, and the blonde-haired lady questioned why they were being looked at strangely, as though their attire looked weird. On the other side of the street, people were discussing the two ladies, stating that they were cosplaying. The white-haired lady called the blonde-haired lady's sister Jin Jiao and informed her that people were still staring at them strangely. She questioned whether they should hide their horns. The blonde-haired lady called Sister Gin Zhou replied that if they did so, people would know they had magic. Both of them turned back and concluded that they couldn't use their magic. If the Jiang family found out, they would be sent back to the Sin world. However, they faced another problem. If they didn't use magic, they wouldn't be able to buy what they wanted, especially the milk tea they were looking at and drooling over. Just then, the vendor told them to move if they weren't going to order, so that others in the back could buy what they wanted. The two looked back to see a lot of people rushing towards the milk tea shop. A man rushed towards them and told the vendor that he would pay for them. He ordered 2 milk teas and gave them to both of them. As they left the shop, the man introduced himself as the boss of the place. He said his name was Wu Kusen, emphasizing that they seemed to be broke. He told them that if they wanted to earn some money, they should come to his shop and do part-time work to earn extra money. Wu Kusen gave them his business card. Ginju read out the name of the shop as Forgetful Bar. He informed them that they were in need of 2 publicists and dancers. Jin Jiao told Ginju that it might be a liquor store or a banquet hall, while Ginju guessed that it might be the type of dancers that elegant people enjoy. Both of them told Wu Kusen that since he had helped them, they would return the favor and asked him to escort them to the place. Wu Kusen answered affirmatively. After the tribulation, the sun rose, and Jiang Ya shook his head around, trying to breathe in the fresh air. He smirked and remarked that it was good. Then he suddenly looked up at the sky and exclaimed happily, shouting that he had never felt this relaxed before. Su told him that he had already passed his bodily hardship, so it would be easy for him. The girl who saved him told him that since he had undergone such a powerful tribulation, his future was limitless. Then, suddenly, something shone brightly at a considerable distance from them. They all turned their gaze toward that side, seeming to have grasped what that phenomenon could have been. Jiang Ya emphasized that there was a demon, and Su informed him that this would mark his inaugural battle after his physique had been refined by the tribulation. At the Forgetful Bar, some men were pleading for mercy from an imposing figure, none other than Jin Jiao. She was vehemently thrashing the men without mercy, questioning why they were treating them so frivolously. Jinju informed them that while it was acceptable to wear revealing attire, physical contact took the situation to another level. Jin Jiao expressed her disappointment, noting that she believed the place to be classy, yet they were instructed to consort with men. Wu Kusen questioned their selectivity, reminding them that if they wished to earn money, they should not provoke any of his guests, as offending patrons would result in their inability to leave his establishment. He hurried into the room with his men, cautioning them that if they didn't behave, there would be consequences, possibly death at his hands. The 2 girls stuck together, preparing to confront any impending threat. Jin Jiao examined the weapon and remarked that she had a premonition it was highly dangerous, necessitating the use of their magical powers. Jin Jiao fervently shouted out, proclaiming the possession of her father's resplendent purple-red gourd and intricate golden rope. Simultaneously, Jinju vocalized, affirming her ownership of her father's exquisite jade vase and ornate fan. The men, under the impression that the women were jesting, erupted into mocking laughter, questioning the utilization of what they perceived as ostentatious special effects. Wu Kusen, with unwavering determination, directed the gun menacingly towards them. He declared his intent to dispatch Jin Jiao first, maintaining a sinister laughter as he deftly pulled the trigger, sending a bullet hurtling in her direction. Jin Jiao, with a gravity befitting the perilous situation, promptly activated her supernatural abilities to intercept the oncoming bullet. In the midst of this, she urgently instructed Jinju to disarm the gang, taking charge of the situation. Responding affirmatively, Ginju harnessed her own extraordinary powers, drawing in and confiscating all the weapons wielded by the gang members. A radiant light emanated, obscuring their vision. The men, disoriented and bewildered, scanned their surroundings, perplexed about the sudden disappearance of their weapons. They voiced their confusion and panic, wondering who could thwart the formidable duo of Jinju and Jin Jiao. Wu Kusen, feeling a surge of fear, attempted to dissuade any harm befalling him by emphasizing his father's formidable influence. However, his plea was abruptly cut short. Jin Jiao called out his name, capturing his attention momentarily, before in the next breath, he found himself inexorably drawn into her father's purple-red gourd. The remaining men stood agape, shocked witnesses to his sudden disappearance into the mystical container. Holding the purple-red gourd in her hand, Jinjiao asserted that they should bear the consequences of their actions, emphasizing that the unfolding events were a direct result of their own misdeeds. The men, gripped by terror and apprehension, frantically scrambled to flee the bar, their panicked voices echoing phrases like "ghost" as they implored anyone within earshot to come to their rescue. Jin Jiao gazed thoughtfully at the swiftly moving figures and pondered whether venturing into the human realm had been a prudent decision. Ginju assured her that it was indeed beneficial, emphasizing that the malevolent forces were merely a negligible minority. With a grave expression, Ginju directed her gaze towards Jin Jiao and proposed the radical idea of obliterating the depraved lair of the malevolent antagonist. A joyous smile adorned Jin Jiao's face as she expressed her belief that their dreamt of human world should not harbor such malevolence. Assertively, she declared that the place ought to face annihilation. Observing the frenzied activity, Ginju extended her right hand and summoned her suet jade bottle. Subsequently, a torrent of water cascaded forth from it. The meager stream from the jade bottle swiftly transformed into a deluge, submerging the scrambling individuals attempting to evade it. Jin Jiao, wearing a serious countenance, urged Jinju to employ her abilities to topple everything. Abruptly, a golden portal materialized, drawing in and dissipating the water. Startled, both individuals questioned the unexpected occurrence in their minds, only to be informed by an unidentified voice that their audacity was unwarranted. Surprised, they turned to identify the speaker, and Jiang Ya emerged from the portal, labeling them evildoers and demanding they disclose their identities. Uneasy, they resisted revealing any information, advising him not to exert pressure. Ginju prompted Jin Jiao to take action, and facing her purple-red gourd towards Jiang Ya, she uttered his name. Jiang Ya, bewildered, recalled an image he had seen before, a sculpture featuring a man holding a gourd and facing a particular direction. Subconsciously, Jiang Ya pointed at them, questioning if they were the daughters of the King of the Golden Horn and the King of the Silver Horn. Terrified, Jin Jiao and Ginju inquired how he knew their identities. Ginju mused that it might not be a loss if he became the ruler of the world. Recognizing Jiang Ya's discernment, they decided to combine their powers in a concerted effort to confront him, acknowledging his potential superiority. Uniting their energies, they unleashed a joint assault. Jiang Ya, unfazed, conjured a barrier out of thin air, anticipating their attack. As the attack approached, Jiang Ya smirked, effortlessly blocking and deflecting it with minimal exertion. Employing a newfound skill acquired after a catastrophe, Thunderstrike Jiang Ya redirected the attack towards the two ladies, subjecting them to electrocution. Shoving them into the Sin World's portal, Jiang Ya instructed them to serve their sentence. Despite their protests, they were drawn into the portal. Jiang Ya, initially elated, was taken aback as he witnessed the two ladies re-emerge from the portal. Confusion enveloped the two ladies as they questioned why they were back. They had assumed that once banished to the Sin World, escape would be impossible. Perplexed, Jiang Ya wondered why the Sin World had not accepted them as he contemplated this unforeseen turn of events. The two sisters, who had been sent back once again, were elated. Jin Jiao remarked that it appeared the Zhang family would no longer be able to exert control over them. Jiang Ya, still in a state of confusion, examined the symbol in his hand and pondered whether the Sin World was shattered or if there were any glitches in the Sin World system. At that moment, Su laughed at them and chided them for their ignorance, revealing the reason behind their return from the Sin World. The two ladies rejoiced upon learning from Su that their innocence was the cause. Su informed Jiang Ya that, except for him, innocent practitioners, whether demons or humans, couldn't enter the Sin World realm. Su disclosed that the Golden Horn King and the Silver Horn King, having married wives and born children in the Sin World, were locked up due to the absence of a manager in the Sin World. Consequently, they didn't need to serve any sentence in that place. Su conveyed that the Sin World had declared them innocent, compelling them to abide by the rules, as the heavens recognized them as innocents. Both Jin Jiao and Ginju were overjoyed at Su's revelation that they were acknowledged by the heavens. Jin Jiao enthusiastically declared that they could become accomplished practitioners. Su smiled and questioned their happiness, cautioning them that once they left the Sin World, they wouldn't be able to return, signifying the end of having a home. Both Jin Jiao and Ginju exchanged shocked glances. Jin Jiao recalled her father's words before their departure. Both remembered their father's advice before leaving. Jinjiao's father urged her to depart from the Sin world to avoid suffering with him, while Ginju's father advised her to maintain a low profile and escape when encountering the monster monkey. Both left with happiness. The two fathers, watching their daughters depart, asserted that as long as their children could thrive in the future, they could pursue their desires. The girls became despondent, embracing each other, feigning tears, and expressing their longing to return to their parents. Jiang Ya thought in his mind how pitiable they were when suddenly, the two rushed towards him, each holding his hand, telling him that he could do whatever he wanted to them as long as they could see their parents. Jin Jiao presented her purple-red gourd and golden rope, and Ginju offered her treasure, handing them over to Jiang Ya, requesting him to facilitate their return. Ginju informed him they no longer wished to practice. They simply wanted to reunite with their parents. In Jiang Ya's mind, he hesitated. He had initially intended to set conditions for helping them, but now they were offering more than he had contemplated. Before Jiang Ya could speak, Su abruptly joined the conversation, informing them that returning was impossible. She continued, suggesting they become Jiang Ya's secretaries and use their work to reduce their parents' sentences, allowing them to be released earlier. After contemplating it, Jiang Ya deemed it reasonable to let the two of them bring people to his commissary to generate income. Alternatively, he could allow them to broadcast live, bringing him closer to becoming the first-line anchor, envisioning Ginju's demonstration on the live channel. Then he considered that perhaps extracting surplus value from demons wasn't an act of a big capitalist, picturing Jin Jiao singing in his mind. Jiang Ya rapidly agreed. Then, Su said it had been settled this way. She mentioned that there were many people, so they had to go back. Su activated her power and teleported them to Jiang Ya's home. Su helped them cross-dress and covered their demon aura. The two girls looked at the house in front of them and questioned whether they would be living there from then on. In that way, no one will know that they are monsters. She dressed Jin Jiao in an office worker's attire and Ginju in a high school student uniform. Jiang Ya blushed as blood slid down from his nose. He told Su to change the attire. Su questioned him if these were not what all the men on the internet loved to see. Su changed the attire into maid outfits while Jiang Ya complained in his mind. Jiang Ya blushed and was shy. He thought in his mind that what they both wore was too much. In a plane passing above Jiang Ya's house, a woman sitting in the passenger seat holding a glass of wine felt something and looked out. It was the aura of two demons with a pure bloodline. She looked out of the window, licking her lips, stating that she could hunt for demon pills again. It seems like it was not her first time hunting for the so-called demon pill. In Jiang Ya's room, he was standing in front of the mirror with Ginju's jade vase, pronouncing some magic spell chants to activate the vase. Jiang Ya looked expectantly at the jade vase when it activated, but was disappointed when only a little sip of water came out. As the scene unfolded in the cozy living room, Jiang Ya diverted his attention from the TV show that Ginju, Jin, and Su were avidly watching together. A sense of disappointment and frustration welled up within him as he candidly informed Ginju that the purportedly magical weapon at his disposal was, in fact, utterly useless. Seeking clarity, Jiang Ya approached the trio and inquired why Ginju could successfully wield the magical weapon while he found himself incapable of doing so. The skepticism lingered as he questioned the authenticity of the item, contemplating whether it was a counterfeit since its powers seemed elusive to him. Meanwhile, Ginju, Jin, and Su remained engrossed in the unfolding narrative on the television, seemingly detached from Jiang Ya's growing concerns. Su, without turning away from the captivating TV show, raised two fingers in a casual motion, activating the jade vase. A sudden rush of water cascaded from the vase, catching Jiang Ya off guard as it playfully splashed onto his face. Recovering from the unexpected dousing, Jiang Ya quickly regained his composure. In an attempt to refocus their attention, he positioned himself to block their view and conveyed a firm message. They must impart the necessary knowledge about the magical weapon unless he was to reconsider his willingness to assist them. Responding to Jiang Ya's request for guidance, Ginju tossed a book in his direction. With deft reflexes, Jiang Ya caught the book and started flipping through its pages. Su took on the role of an instructor, elucidating that mastery over magical weapons necessitated refining them into one's own natal magic weapon, or refining a demon pill akin to the practices of the demon clan, ultimately relying on the resonance between the two. Each turned page revealed more information, and Jiang Ya absorbed Su's guidance with growing interest. Su delved into the intricate process, emphasizing that refining the natal magic weapon hinged on securing blessings from runes and magic formations. The foundational step, she explained, involved the meticulous sealing of the basic inscription. Contemplating the inscriptions before him, Jiang Ya acknowledged his current inability to carry out such a task. Responding to this admission, Su advised him to seek out Yufei in town, divulging that Yufei awaited the disciples of the Tianxin sect to discreetly address the aftermath of their endeavors. On the outskirts of the town, a lifeless corpse lay on the ground, an eerie sight that sent shivers down the spine. The vacant eye sockets and the wide-open mouth painted a grim picture, reminiscent of an elderly figure whose life force had been inexplicably drained. Observing the unsettling scene, a woman stood not far from the corpse, while a man, seemingly investigating, proclaimed that the corpse bore traces of demon aura. Despite the demonic essence, the body retained the appearance of an ordinary person. The woman, positioned on the opposite side, voiced her curiosity about the mysterious events unfolding in the town. Intriguingly, the woman standing by the corpse was none other than the enigmatic figure who had been aboard the plane that flew over Jiang Ya's residence. In a sinister tone, she mused that even in its desiccated state, the residual demon key within the corpse held the potential to rejuvenate them, and an unsettling smile played on her lips. As they continued to discuss the peculiar situation, the ambient sounds were interrupted by the distant rumble of a motorcycle engine. Their attention pivoted toward the source, revealing a young man driving slowly and engrossed in contemplation. Something about him piqued their interest, prompting them to focus intently on the unfolding scenario. Oblivious to the surreptitious gaze upon him, Jiang Ya continued his journey into town on his motorcycle, mentally reciting the items he needed for the task at hand. The red-haired woman, with an expression of delight, fixed her gaze on Jiang Ya and shared a revelation with her companion. She confidently stated that the demonic ki they had sensed in the corpse was undeniably emanating from none other than Jiang Ya himself, deepening the enigma surrounding him. Jiang Ya pondered over which technique to choose, immersed in the critical decision, when suddenly an ominous sensation gripped him. Reacting swiftly, he leaped off his motorcycle, narrowly avoiding an unseen threat. His nimble evasion proved fortuitous as a colossal rock crashed down, pulverizing his motorcycle. Unscathed, Jiang Ya found himself in a nearby clearing, the wreckage of his bike a testament to the peril he narrowly escaped. The red-haired lady and the bald-headed man approached, standing before Jiang Ya. The bald man acknowledged Jiang's alertness, while the red-haired lady taunted him to summon the other monster and face a painless demise. Contemplating the mention of another demon, Jiang Ya speculated whether it could be Jin Jiao, harboring her aura despite its suppression. Rising from his landing spot, Jiang Ya lamented being deceived once again by Su. The bald man pressed for information, insinuating a method to extract the truth from him. Before he could advance, the red-haired lady intervened, asserting her intention to take charge, provocatively manipulating the buttons on her chest. Advancing toward Jiang, she provocatively undid her buttons, revealing her bra. She insinuated that Jiang Ya's compliance would lead to a painless death, confident in the allure of her charms. Closing his eyes, Jiang Ya gestured for her not to proceed, resisting the seductive tactics. Gazing through a gap in his fingers, Jiang Ya observed a purple orb hanging on the red-haired lady's chest. She, in turn, reveled in her perceived irresistibility. Within a space imbued with charms, Jiang Ya stood resolute as the red-haired lady emphasized the significance of his demon pill to their strength. To Jiang Ya's surprise, the red-haired lady manifested illusory tales, 6 in total, reveling in the success of her seductive trap. The red-haired lady wore a triumphant smile, her forehead displaying an image of a fox as she rhetorically questioned who could resist the allure of a demon fox pill. With glee, she expressed her eagerness to witness the allure of Jiang Ya's demon pill, extending her foxtails toward him in a playful manner. Unfazed, Jiang Ya, now with clear and focused eyes, observed intently as the foxtails closed in around him. To the red-haired lady's shock, she found no demon pill within Jiang Ya's body. Accusing him of deception, she realized that he possessed no such pill. Still recovering from the revelation, she clutched her now empty hand, which had once held the demon fox pill. In a swift move, Jiang Ya closed in, snatched the pill, and retreated, leaving the red-haired lady stunned in the aftermath of the unexpected turn of events. Holding the demon fox pill mockingly, Jiang Ya asserted that he had never lied. She had been ensnared by her own illusions. Tauntingly, Jiang Ya remarked that women might affect the speed at which he played games, but real men were impervious to such temptations. The red-haired lady's face darkened as she comprehended Jiang Ya's immunity to her trap. Observing the pill in Jiang Ya's hand, the red-haired lady questioned how he could possess the demon pill of a monster, deeming it impossible. Jiang Ya corrected her, revealing that the extracted energy from the pill lacked any trace of sin. He accused her of using dark magic to siphon power from innocent demons for the sake of strength, condemning her actions as madness. Confronted with the loss of her demon pill, Jiang Ya questioned whether she would persist in her malevolent ways. However, she leaped away, distancing herself and asserting that all demons were monsters meant to bolster cultivation, devoid of any inherent goodness. With a derisive laughter, she unfurled a multitude of demon pills, questioning Jiang Ya if he had ever beheld such an extensive collection of these ominous artifacts. Asserting confidently that victory was within their easy grasp, she taunted the impending defeat that awaited him. Undeterred by the ineffectiveness of the fox demon pill, she swiftly transitioned to another, extracting the rabbit demon pill and assimilating its essence into herself. Declaring a pact with her comrade to join forces in the impending battle, she received an affirmative response. Jiang Ya, in the face of this mutated duo resembling the famed tortoise and rabbit, expressed his disdain, deeming the scenario boring as he lunged towards the formidable adversaries. Executing a forceful leap, he struck the tortoise man with his weapon, only to be forcefully repelled by the resilient opponent. Stunned by the unexpected invalidation of his attack, Jiang Ya stood in bewilderment, questioning why his weapon proved ineffective against the tortoise man's defenses. Before he could formulate a response to the impending threat, a sudden kick from the red-haired woman sent him reeling, accompanied by her emphatic declaration for him to descend into hell. Tumbling backward, Jiang Ya's adversary reveled in her perceived advantage, urging her comrade to seize the moment and secure victory. However, their elation was abruptly interrupted by an unexpected disturbance. A powerful force struck the bald-headed tortoise man, eliciting a pained cry. Despite the scale in his hand mitigating some of the impact, he endured the blow without severe injury. A revelation unfolded as something materialized in Jiang Ya's hand. Proudly displaying a butchering knife, he admitted nearly forgetting about this formidable weapon, standing resolutely as he scrutinized it. Advancing toward his adversaries, Jiang Ya accused them of using innocent demons as shields, asserting that they had already overcome the limitations of his initial attack. Faced with the necessity to refine his tactics on the spot, he initiated an incantation, chanting a magic spell and blowing an enchanting substance onto his butchering knife. The digits of 856 elongated as the narrative unfolded, revealing a tale where the protagonist recalled the arcane knowledge from a book, emphasizing the significance of blood in the refining process for those possessing a complete refining body. It was a memory etched in his mind. It was a memory etched in. In a hurried moment, the protagonist decided to wield a humble kitchen knife against formidable adversaries. With determination, he pointed the blade at them and introduced himself as Jiang Ya, a mere human with newfound aspirations. A sense of accomplishment filled Jiang Ya as he gazed upon his opponents. With the kitchen knife as an unlikely symbol, he proudly proclaimed his status as a swordmaster, directing the blade towards them with confidence. The tortoise man, nursing an injured hand, and the red-haired woman, both astounded, voiced their realization in unison. Jiang Ya held a magic weapon. The kitchen knife, now infused with his refined blood, became a potent instrument. The red-haired woman, still grappling with disbelief, pondered the impossibility of Jiang Ya's swift refinement. As tension built, she clenched her fist in frustration, while Jiang Ya prepared for the impending confrontation. Jiang Ya wasted no time and swiftly advanced towards his adversaries. Recognizing the shared fundamentals of swordsmanship, he opted for a skill he knew well, slashing towards the tortoise man's vulnerable neck. The force of Jiang Ya's attack forced the adversaries to shield their faces. The bald-headed tortoise man, unable to withstand the onslaught, tumbled uncontrollably, causing his demon pill to dislodge. Approaching the fallen demon pill, Jiang Ya contemplated their plight. Despite a twinge of pity, he resolved not to show mercy, knowing they exploited others for their gains. The red-haired lady, undeterred, approached the fallen bald-headed man. Offering him a pill, she spoke of the imperative need to triumph in the upcoming battle, revealing the pill's purpose and advising him to employ the associated trick. Complying with her guidance, the bald man ingested the demon pills, absorbing their power into his body, readying himself for the escalating conflict. In a distant small town, nestled far away, the purple-headed girl, the valiant savior of Jiang Ya, found herself amidst a congregation of elders. These venerable figures, engaged in a ritualistic circulation of mystical powers, garnered the commendation of the purple-headed girl. The elders, however, were taken aback, their astonishment palpable as they queried the purple-headed girl about the mysterious corpse key she had previously mentioned. Startled, the purple-headed girl gazed skyward, where a radiant and ominous purple death key ascended, casting an eerie glow over the heavens. In a display of pride, the red-haired lady informed Jiang Ya that their pursuit of knowledge had led them to exhaust their very lives in mastering the intricate melt witchcrafting spell. The bald-headed man, echoing a sense of honor and determination, shouted toward Jiang Ya. He declared his willingness to embrace death under the trick they had diligently studied for an extensive period, extending his arms in a welcoming gesture. Unfazed, Jiang Ya, donning a blank expression, nonchalantly identified this version of the Shanzai corpse road. Lamenting the predictable thoughts of villains, he recognized the striking similarities in their intentions. As the bald-headed man initiated an attack, Jiang Ya, maintaining composure, reminded him not to blame himself for utilizing the technique. The symbol in Jiang Ya's hand gleamed as he instructed the bald-headed man to journey to the Sin World. With a deft motion, Jiang Ya opened a portal to the Sin World, swiftly ensnaring the bald-headed man without affording him a chance to resist. Sporting a mocking smile, Jiang Ya turned his attention to the red-haired woman, who, realizing her vulnerability, attempted to flee. Recognizing her predicament, she knew she couldn't confront him head-on. Pursuing her without delay, Jiang Ya seized her by the rabbit ear, questioning her futile attempt to escape and whether she believed she could elude him. At that precise moment, 3 individuals landed behind Jiang Ya, prompting him to glance back in silent inquiry. These were the 3 elders who had been in the company of the purple-headed girl. Their hurried arrival bore witness to the ominous purple death key, and they extended respectful greetings, referring to Jiang Ya as an expert. Acknowledging his formidable presence, the elders conveyed their gratitude for his intervention, describing him as a great person who effortlessly dispelled the malevolent forces. The elders assured Jiang Ya that the red-haired lady would no longer pose a threat, as they were dispatched by the heart of heaven to seal her. As the purple-headed girl descended from the sky, eager to share her insights, the elder intervened, pressing her head downward. They directed her to show reverence towards Jiang Ya, addressing him not as an expert, but with the title of senior. Attempting to convey her knowledge, the purple-headed girl was cut off as the elder bowed toward where Jiang Ya stood, emphasizing the need for respect. The elders, in unison, bowed before Jiang Ya, expressing their gratitude as benefactors and expressing hope for his guidance. Jiang Ya, attempting to clarify the misunderstanding, found himself drowned out by their insistence that he was their senior. Frustrated, Jiang Ya tried to explain the misconception, but the elders, discontented, concluded that their sect had declined and accepted blame for their perceived incompetence. Witnessing the somber state of the elders, Jiang felt a compassionate urge and assured them that he had valuable advice to offer. The purple-headed girl, finding amusement in the situation, held her uncle's robe while letting out a playful laugh. Internally lamenting the necessity of continuing his facade as a senior, Jiang acknowledged that as Yufei was aware of his true identity, maintaining the charade wouldn't pose a challenge. Upon reaching the sect, Jiang casually remarked on Elder Chen's well-being within the sect's confines, engaging in polite small talk. Sensing the appropriate time, Jiang mentioned that it was growing late and he needed to return home. In response, Elder Chen graciously offered his assistance, expressing a willingness to help whenever Jiang required aid. Initially hesitant to accept the offer, Jiang reconsidered, realizing that he indeed needed assistance in acquiring specific items. Aware of his financial constraints, Jiang aimed to leverage the sect's resources for material procurement, hoping they would provide the necessary materials. Presenting Elder Chen with a compiled list of refining materials, Zhang broached the topic. However, the elder's laughter resonated through the air when he perused the extensive list, deeming it excessively demanding. Elder Chen, scrutinizing the materials, acknowledged the sect's capability to provide most basic items. However, he conceded that some materials were exceptionally rare, challenging to obtain. Offering further insight, Elder Chen explained that while the sect could secure some materials, others, although not necessarily precious, were so rare that their presence in the Xijing antique market remained uncertain. Jiang, contemplating his options, slipped his hand into his pocket, realizing that this might be an opportune moment to revisit Xijing. In response, Elder Chen, attempting to manage expectations, expressed the sect's financial limitations. Suddenly recalling Yufei's association with Xijing University, Elder Chen proposed that she could guide Jiang upon his return to Xijing, especially since the academic semester was set to commence soon. Concerned about potentially offending Zhang Ya, Elder Chen found himself pleasantly surprised when Zhang, breaking the tension, enthusiastically announced his decision to return to Xijing. Seizing the moment, Zhang revealed his intent to investigate the circumstances that led to his suspension from Xijing University, signaling a pivotal turning point in his journey. Jiang Ya contemplated in his mind that if he aspired to advance in cultivation and attain greater power, he could no longer confine himself to the confines of a small town. The allure of vast resources awaited him in more expansive locales, and he considered ordinary conspiracies inconsequential on his path to cultivation. Expressing his decision to Elder Chen, Zhang Ya urged him to swiftly prepare the necessary materials, signaling his imminent departure to the Xijing country. With a casual wave, he left, leaving the journey ahead unfurling before him. A week later, Jiang Ya arrived in Xijing, his thoughts lingering as he approached Xijing University. While the prospect of returning to the university did not intimidate him, the prospect of dealing with certain irksome individuals dampened his enthusiasm. Passing by fellow students en route to the university, Jiang Ya caught the attention of one who was engaged in exercise. Suspicion flashed across the observer's face, prompting him to recognize Jiang Ya. A sudden realization dawned on the onlooker, leading to an exclamation that Jiang Ya had indeed returned. Rushing forward, the observer pointed at Jiang Ya with mockingly exaggerated surprise, loudly announcing his presence at the school. The revelation sparked gossip among other university students, with one alleging that Jiang Ya had cheated in an esports game, contending that someone guilty of such actions had no right to return to the school. The boy who had loudly declared Jiang Ya's presence advanced toward him, pointed accusingly, and questioned why he had returned, labeling him the shame of the university. Unfazed, Jiang Ya retorted, asserting that the boy could enter the conversation if it were his turn to speak. Ignoring Jiang Ya's words, the boy knocked off his cap, declaring that Jiang Ya was no longer a student but a wandering outsider, urging him to leave or face the intervention of security guards. Observing the boy's audacity, Jiang Ya responded with a pointed look, silently questioning whether he was attempting to deliver an impromptu tutorial on the proper way to handle such situations. The tension in the air escalated as both Jiang Ya and the boy remained steadfast, unwilling to yield ground or back down from their positions. In the midst of this confrontation, 3 security guards swiftly approached the scene, their expressions a mix of concern and determination. Eager to diffuse the escalating conflict, they sought an explanation and clarification of the situation, ready to intervene if necessary. The introduction of the security guards adds a layer of authority to the scene, potentially shaping the resolution of the conflict. Seizing the opportunity, the boy accused Jiang Ya of trespassing and impersonating a student. He urged the guards to apprehend Jiang Ya immediately. Dismissing the commotion, Jiang Ya averted his gaze, expressing disinterest in engaging with the boy's petty troubles. Jiang Ya, holding a talisman discreetly behind his back, disdainfully informed the boy that if he desired a confrontation, he should initiate it himself. Unfazed, the determined boy fervently implored the security guards to fortify the university's security and eject Jiang Ya. The guards, resolute, advanced purposefully toward Jiang Ya, ready to take action. With a smug expression, Jiang Ya casually flung the talisman over his shoulder, a sly gesture aimed at the unsuspecting boy. Much to his astonishment, Jiang Ya discovered himself ensnared by the vigilant guards, his bewildered gaze fixated on them. The unexpected turn of events heightened the tension in the unfolding situation. The boy pointed at Jiang Ya, asserting that someone who had gained entry to the university solely through gaming had no place within its walls. Unexpectedly, he retaliated with a resounding slap on Jiang Ya's cheeks, determined to thwart any chance of him gaining admission. The sudden act of defiance added a dramatic twist to the unfolding confrontation, intensifying the tension between the two. Disregarding the boy's fervent protests, Jiang Ya defiantly sank his teeth into his hand, a shocking act that left him bewildered and stunned. The unexpected bite created an atmosphere of surprise and confusion, casting a shadow over the encounter. Infuriated, the boy retaliated by biting Jiang Ya back, and a bizarre struggle ensued, both seemingly succumbing to the antics of a mad dog. Both of them fought each other angrily, biting each other like a mad dog. A female student, perplexed by the spectacle, questioned why Minister Liu from the Student Association was embroiled in a scuffle with a dog. A fellow student enlightened her, stating that it was not just a fight, but an ongoing quarrel with a dog. As the commotion unfolded in the courtyard, the students present couldn't resist the allure of capturing the bizarre spectacle with their cell phones. Minister Liu, engaged in an unexpected struggle with a dog, unwittingly became the center of attention. Little did he know that Jiang Ya had cleverly manipulated his perception, convincing him that the canine adversary was, in fact, a representation of himself throughout the entire ordeal. Laughter echoed through the crowd as Minister Liu continued his futile skirmish with the dog. Amid the amusement, Jiang Ya found amusement in Liu's predicament and contemplated his lack of authority in deciding whether Liu should enter the school premises or not. It was a moment of both entertainment and reflection on the power dynamics at play. A sudden shift in the atmosphere seized Minister Liu and the guards as a realization washed over them. The once oblivious expressions transformed into ones of questioning and confusion. Meanwhile, the persistent dog maintained its grip on Liu's leg, creating a surreal and tense tableau. Mutual bewilderment filled the air as Liu and the guards exchanged glances. The situation took an unexpected turn, and their eyes met with a shared sense of puzzlement. The dog's continued aggression added an element of urgency to the unfolding drama. In an attempt to make sense of the chaos, Liu pointed towards the dog, demanding answers from the perplexed guards. He sought information about Jiang Ya's whereabouts and questioned the logic behind apprehending a seemingly ordinary canine. The guards, caught off guard, struggled to provide coherent explanations. Liu's gaze shifted towards the nearby alley, revealing a startling revelation. It wasn't just a solitary dog. Instead, a menacing pack of dogs with crimson eyes reflecting malice was rapidly closing in on them. The situation escalated, and fear gripped the hearts of Liu and the guards. Panic set in as Liu and the guards, realizing the imminent threat, fled from the advancing pack of enraged dogs. The courtyard, once filled with the sounds of laughter, now echoed with the hurried footsteps of those escaping the wrath of the canine onslaught. Meanwhile, as Jiang Ya attempted to make a discreet exit, a mysterious figure intervened, placing a hand on his shoulder. Turning around, Jiang Ya was met by Yu Fei, who inquired if he was searching for someone. The unexpected encounter added a layer of intrigue to the unfolding events. Jiang Ya, surprised by Yu Fei's interruption, disclosed his connection to the university. Yu Fei, connecting the dots, speculated that Jiang Ya might be the individual people had been gossiping about. Their interaction hinted at a deeper narrative, shrouded in mystery and potential intrigue. Urgency and secrecy intertwined as Jiang Ya, covering her mouth with his hand, urged Yu Fei to lower her voice. He vehemently claimed innocence, insisting that they relocate to a more private setting to discuss matters further. Their departure raised eyebrows, fueling the speculative conversations among the intrigued students. Walking away from the crowd, Jiang Ya and Yu Fei headed towards the university, leaving behind a trail of speculation and gossip. The students, captivated by the unfolding drama, couldn't help but discuss the mysterious connection between the two figures and the events that had transpired in the courtyard. Liu's gaze pierced through the space where Yu Fei and Jiang Ya had departed, his frustration simmering beneath the surface. Determination etched across his face. He silently vowed to expel Jiang Ya from the campus, the intensity of his emotions a reflection of the brewing conflict. Within the confines of the classroom, Jiang Ya occupied his desk, engrossed in the pages of his textbook. Meanwhile, whispers circulated among his peers, speculating about his prolonged absence and abrupt return, all while managing to avoid repeating a grade. A sudden exclamation from a fellow student interrupted the subdued atmosphere. The announcement of Teacher Lee's presence caused an immediate hush to fall upon the room, as the students, keenly aware of potential repercussions, silenced their discussions. Jiang, observing the palpable unease, lifted his eyes and remarked on the discomfort of being surrounded by his classmates, who appeared to harbor a distinct fear of Teacher Lee. The entrance of Teacher Lee brought an official end to the anticipatory silence. She informed the class that, without delay, she would resume her role as their instructor for the upcoming year. Fixing her gaze on Jiang Ya, Teacher Lee voiced her surprise at not having seen him since the previous year, questioning his enrollment in the major. Jiang Ya disclosed his suspension from the previous year and his recent return to school. He explained that he had self-studied the previous year's coursework and completed a makeup exam during the midterm. Teacher Lee, approaching him, questioned whether his absence implied her ineffectiveness as an educator, given that he chose to study independently at home rather than attend classes. Leaning in, she placed her hands on Jiang Ya's desk, prompting him to cautiously affirm the importance of teachers in the learning process. Teacher Lee then placed an exam paper on Jiang Ya's desk, challenging him to articulate the answers to the 5 fundamental multiple-choice questions from the previous year's exam. The ultimatum hung in the air, emphasizing the stakes of his eligibility for the class. Examining the paper before him, Jiang Ya lifted it with a mixture of frustration and resignation. Inwardly, he lamented the inherent lack of deception in the world of mathematics, a sentiment that echoed through his thoughts, underscoring the challenges ahead. Responding to the challenge, Teacher Lee handed Jiang Ya a textbook, emphasizing that it contained the authentic questions from the previous year. Simultaneously, she inquired whether he had taken the time to peruse its contents. Accepting the textbook, Jiang Ya mentally expressed his appreciation for its fortuitous timing. With the textbook now in his hands, he promptly delved into its pages, ready to confront the intellectual demands it held. Returning the book to Teacher Lee after his brief examination, Jiang Ya confidently asserted that he had not only read it, but had committed its contents to memory. In response, Teacher Lee cautioned him against treating mathematics as if it were linguistics, emphasizing that rote memorization was unnecessary. Unfazed by her advice, Jiang Ya proceeded to defy her counsel, initiating the recitation of the answers to the questions with unwavering confidence. The classroom, previously immersed in a subdued atmosphere, suddenly erupted into a collective state of astonishment. Each student bore a look of disbelief as Jiang Ya, undeterred, continued to recite the answers. Even Teacher Lee, usually composed, found herself with a gaping mouth, thoroughly surprised by the unexpected display of proficiency. The students in the class, taken aback by Jiang Ya's unexpected recitation, hurriedly sifted through their textbooks, trying to verify the accuracy of the information he had shared. The air in the classroom was charged with a sense of curiosity and disbelief. Having completed his recitation, Jiang Ya, undeterred, directed a pointed question at Teacher Lee, challenging her qualification to instruct the class. The question hung in the air, awaiting the teacher's response. Teacher Lee, maintaining a composed demeanor, pretended nonchalance in the face of Jiang Ya's challenge. Closing her textbook, she casually remarked that what he had recited merely scratched the surface of the subject. While granting him permission to continue attending the class, she issued a stern warning about adhering to the rules, emphasizing strict consequences for any violations. With a thoughtful expression, Teacher Lee turned away and walked toward the classboard, contemplating the intricacies of the mind-body connection. She acknowledged the benefits of refining the body, realizing that Lao Sucheng's teachings held validity beyond what she initially perceived. Beyond the confines of the classroom, Minister Lu, observing the scene with growing anger, cast a disdainful gaze at Jiang Ya. Cursing him silently in his mind, the minister's displeasure hinted at a deeper conflict simmering beneath the surface. A sudden interruption disturbed Minister Lu's silent seething as someone placed a hand on his shoulder, inquiring about the directions to Shijing Food Street. Initially irritated, he turned back, only to find a beauty standing before him, a university freshman seeking assistance in navigating the unfamiliar surroundings. As the beauty introduced herself as Zhang Mei, a freshman at the university, Minister Lu's irritation transformed into captivation by her charm. In response to her request for directions, he graciously offered to guide her to Shijing Food Street. Lu, now charmed by Jiang Mei's beauty, assured her that accompanying her was no trouble at all. They walked off together, engaging in conversation as Lu inquired about her name and department. Turning towards the girl, Lu walked alongside Jiang Mei, initiating a conversation to learn more about her. He asked about her name and the department she belonged to, attempting to engage in friendly banter. Jiang Mei revealed that her name was Jiang Mei, prompting Minister Lu to playfully remark that people with the surname Jiang were generally good, accompanied by a hint of admiration. Smiling happily, Jiang Mei redirected her attention toward Jiang Ya's classroom, contemplating something in her thoughts. Looking directly at Jiang Ya's location, she silently declared in her heart that she had found him, suggesting a potential connection or interest. Meanwhile, Jiang Ya, who had just exited the campus, voiced his complaints about the persistent difficulty of mathematics, despite his improved mental faculties. Walking through the bustling street, Jiang Ya pondered the best course of action, deciding to prioritize memorizing more books. With the intention to eat first and then delve into serious matters later with Yu Fei, he navigated the lively atmosphere of the city. Passing through a street alley, he overheard a discussion among men, their conversation revolving around a schoolgirl. The tone and topic of their conversation piqued Jiang Ya's interest as he continued to make his way through the streets. Soon, he encountered a distressing scene where a group of gangs was harassing a female student, urging her to join them with ominous shouts for help. Unwilling to tolerate such a crime unfolding before him, Jiang Ya stepped into the alley and positioned himself in front of the perpetrators. He sternly questioned the audacity of committing such acts under his watchful eyes. Witnessing Jiang Ya's intervention, the frightened girl managed to break free from the gangs and rush toward him seeking refuge. In a moment of desperation, she hugged him tightly, reaching out for help and safety. Jiang Ya, taken aback by the unexpected embrace, looked down at the tearful girl who clung to him. Her eyes were filled with fear as she pleaded for assistance, describing the gangs as incredibly frightening. Still embracing him, she tearfully questioned if he would help her, her eyes reflecting a mix of vulnerability and hope. Jiang Ya, slightly flustered by the sudden closeness, assured her that he would indeed help. He gently pointed at the gangs, indicating that he would return once he had dealt with them. The gang stood in stunned silence, observing as Jiang Ya confidently approached them, ready to confront their menacing behavior. In a swift motion, Jiang Ya raised his hand, forming a clenched fist aimed at the gang leader. However, before his fist could make contact, the gang leader rolled over dramatically, falling to the ground and loudly declaring that Jiang Ya had used excessive force. Dumbfounded by the gang leader's theatrical response, Jiang Ya turned to him and asserted that he hadn't even touched him with his fist. Meanwhile, Jiang Mei glared disapprovingly at the gang leader's antics. Undeterred, the gang leader stood up and complimented Jiang Ya's bossing style, while one of his members suggested that they should flee the scene. Startled by the suggestion of escape, Jiang Ya quickly jumped over, blocking their way. However, he failed to anticipate how the girl near him managed to come closer after his leap. With deliberate force, Jiang Ya stomped his foot on the ground, causing it to split into two, adding an element of surprise and intimidation. The gang leader, now terrified, attempted to maintain a facade of fearlessness. Admitting defeat, the gang leader pleaded with Jiang Mei to let them pass, acknowledging the futility of their act. Another gang member acknowledged the strength of Jiang Ya and Jiang Mei, advising against further confrontation with such formidable opponents. Perplexed by the turn of events, Jiang Ya questioned Jiang Mei's intentions, prompting her to shrug and lament her poor acting skills. Jiang Ya's inquiries were interrupted as Jiang Mei hugged him and affectionately referred to him as Brother Jiang, introducing a familial dynamic to their relationship. This unexpected twist adds a touch of humor and warmth to the scene. With a mischievous glint in her eyes, Jiang Mei complimented Jiang Ya on his strength, playfully alluding to the typical hero-beauty dynamic in stories. Jiang Ya, however, found his attention drawn to the 3 dots on her chest, a detail that triggered a familiar memory. The realization dawned on Jiang Ya as he remembered the only person who ever called him Brother Jiang was the little girl he used to play with during his childhood. Excitedly, Jiang Ya exclaimed that she was indeed Jiang Mei, his long-lost cousin, and questioned if she was truly the same person from his past. Jiang Mei confirmed their familial connection, explaining that they were separated by 3 generations. She disclosed that her decision to apply to Xijing University was solely to reunite with him. Jiang Ya, still processing the unexpected encounter, remarked on Jiang Mei's penchant for pranks, noting that she hadn't changed in 10 years. Leaning close to Jiang Ya's ear, Jiang Mei dropped a bombshell, revealing that she had been investigating him for a year and had already uncovered clues about the incident from the previous year. The shock registered on Jiang Ya's face, his eyes widening as he grappled with the revelation. This unexpected twist adds a layer of intrigue and sets the stage for the unfolding narrative.
Pet the cat.